Well, hi, hello, and welcome to Actual Tech Media's MegaCast. Today's topic, IT Decision Series, Assessing and Improving Backup, Data Protection, and Disaster Recovery Capabilities. If you guys can hear me smiling already, it's because I was just having a little dance party to our hold music. I hope you guys were too, and I hope you're feeling pumped up and ready to get going. I want to start by saying just an absolute giant thank you to everyone out there today with us for making time in your day to join in this exciting conversation. I want to get started by drawing your attention to those two key words, assess and improve. Today we're going to be looking at where we are. We've got to get an idea of where we're at before we can make any changes. We're going to look at our current infrastructure and our environment, and then we're going to identify where we're maybe doing well, and best of all, where we could potentially make some improvements. So we're going to go through this process of discovery, and we'll get the opportunity to discuss all of these potential developments and growth opportunities with top experts from TierPoint and Zerto, Nasuni, Veeam, Metallic, a Commvault Venture, Rubrik, and Vast Data. Together, we will explore the hottest solutions, trends, creative strategies, all here in one place. This is going to be such a fun day. I hope that you are all ready to dive in. So we're going to kick things off by taking just a little bit of a tour of your audience console because I want to make sure that you can get the most out of your day today. So let's start by looking over at that question window in your webinar control panel. Now, if you haven't already said hi, there is a big and awesome audience here with us today. So reach out, give a wave to the other members of the Actual Tech Media community. Now, that window is also the best place to let us know if you have any technical issues today. I want to remind you that a browser refresh is going to clear out most of the usual tech gremlins, but if not, just give us a wave, give us a little shout in that questions window there, and the Actual Tech Media crew will be on hand to help you out. But most importantly, we want this to be an informative webinar and experience for you, which means that we want to see all of those technical questions. So throughout today's MegaCast, we hope you'll get engaged. Make sure to ask all the questions that you have about all these fun new solutions and strategies that we get to explore here together today. Now, not only will we have team members responding to during the live webinar, we also have dedicated Q&A sessions at the end of each of our presentations today. And if we do not get to your question during a live chat, because as you know, those go by very quickly. We have a lot to cover today, but don't worry. The awesome humans from TierPoint, from Zerto, Nasuni, Veeam, Metallic, a Commvault Venture, Rubrik, and Vast Data will be following up with you afterwards, so you will get some answers back to any questions that you asked today. Now, there's also going to be lots of cool little brain lady uppy moments on the MegaCast today, and you are going to want to share those with your community. So we've made that nice and easy for you. You can use the Twitter button right there in your audience console, and the hashtag for today's MegaCast is going to get automatically added to your post. All right, one last thing I want to point out on your console there is actually that handouts tab. It was right next to the questions window where we started out. You're going to find some fantastic resources and some takeaways from our speakers here today. We've got just an info pack collection. There's some solution briefs, some white papers, data sheets, some free trials, ebooks, upcoming webinars, and more. So be sure that you click around in that handout section, be downloading all those resources, opening those tabs, and saving those for after we wrap today. All right, if I haven't gotten the chance to meet you in the past, my name is Jess. I'm with Actual Tech Media, and I'm very happy to be one of your moderators for this exciting MegaCast today. Now, Scott Becker is here with us on live chat, and David Davis is going to join us in just a moment here for a fun little keynote discussion, so you get the whole awesome crew today. All right, and it is not just content that we're giving away. We also have some seriously exciting prizes to go with it. So today on the MegaCast, you could win one of 5 Microsoft Surface Laptop 5, and we also have a $500 Amazon gift certificate that we will be giving away every 30 minutes. Now, as a reminder, you do need to be here in attendance live at the MegaCast in order to qualify to win. All winners must meet the Actual Tech Media prize terms and conditions. Hey, I don't expect you to have those memorized. I certainly don't, but don't worry. They are all written down for you. So you can head on and back over to that handouts tab that we were chatting about earlier. Click in, scroll down to the bottom, and you will find the full T's and C's waiting for you there. All right, now another fun way to prize, and also going back to, as you recall, at the top of this whole chitty chat here, I said to you that one of the most important things about these types of webinars is the chance to ask questions and to discuss, and I mean that. So we have a special additional prize for all you insightful folks and inquisitive folks out there. So on the MegaCast today, we will be giving away a $50 Amazon gift card to the best question asked in each of our live sessions. So I'm going to remind you all that we review those questions after we wrap. So that means if you ask a question, even if we don't get to it in the live Q&A, you are still entered to win. So make sure you get those questions in, because you could win that $50 Amazon gift card. But also, hey, it just brings up the whole fun energy. You know, that's what we're all here for, is to chit-chat and get to know each other and ask questions and learn cool stuff. So ask those questions, and you know, we'll get you entered to win that prize. I'm going to throw up a few little reminders here on the screen for you, including the fact that all winners must submit an IRS Form W-9 to Actual Tech Media, and again, the full T's and C's for you in the Handouts tab. Now, this is a little bit different than our usual donation option. We always have, prize winners do always have the option to donate the value of their prize to a selected charity. Now, in this case, we've updated to make sure that these are going to organizations that are helping with earthquake relief. So if that's something that you would like to give back to, you want to learn how we can help support that, and you are a winner here today, please do let us know, and we will make sure that that happens. All right, now I've mentioned that I'm excited. If you can't hear it in my voice, I'm excited to be here live with all of you as always. But we want to keep that going. We want to keep connecting with you and hearing from you. So make sure that you find us on social media. Make sure that you reach out to Actual Tech Media on Twitter and LinkedIn. And also follow us on YouTube. There's some awesome content waiting for you there. So many on-demand webinars. And that's a great way to follow up on any of the topics because we're just kind of brushing the surface of a lot of things today. So you're going to want to dig in a bit further. So make sure that you go and check out that YouTube channel and grab some of those webinars to watch a little bit later, and keep digging in and keep expanding those opportunities for your organization. And last but not least, another fun way to win a prize, we've got the Refer a Friend option. So this is a great way to expand that Actual Tech Media community, bring more people into the conversation here, maybe start a little webinar-style book club. You're going to find a link to Refer a Friend right there in the Handouts tab. You will also get automatically redirected at the end of the webinar. Now, we promise not to spam your friends or coworkers. We're going to send them an invite to a list of upcoming webinars, and if they don't respond, they will only get one more little reminder, one tiny little nudge, and then that's it. Then both you and your coworker could win a $300 Amazon gift card. We hold those drawings every month, so be sure that you think of someone awesome and refer them. That could be a win-win situation for everybody. All right, now I'm sneaking in one more little slide, and if you've been in the last couple of MegaCast or EcoCast, you have seen this, but this is brand new. I think a week and a half now. You're our third or fourth time that we're talking about this, so brand new. And this is a really cool program. So Actual Tech Media just launched the Decisions Group, and this is an opportunity for anyone out there who's in that kind of decision-making role within your company to connect with other folks who are in that role, and most importantly, to get a chance to sort of review new and innovative technologies as they're coming out. So what you're going to do is basically be part of this online community, and different organizations and vendors will come in and say, hey, we have this new tech, we're looking for someone or people to give it a little test run. We're looking for someone to give us feedback on this experience. They might ask you to fill out a survey. There's all kinds of different things. There's going to be different prizes or sort of thank yous, I guess, available for participating in some of those things. Some of them are just going to be, for the value of information. What we will also do is pair you with specific vendors that we think will be a good fit. So you'll let us know what kind of needs you have and what you're interested in, and we will suggest people that we think maybe you should speak to as well. So this is a really cool opportunity. If you're interested, there is a link in the Handouts tab. So head on over there, click on that link for the Decisions Group, and fill out a quick little application that just kind of lets us know where you're at and a little bit about you. And again, then we can sort of start connecting you with the right people for you to chat with. So really cool new program. I hope you will go check it out. And we'll see you on that board there. But we're going to keep things moving along here because I had asked one of my absolute favorite experts and fellow moderators here at Actual Tech Media, and that's David Davis, to come and check. You know what? Hang on. I'm gonna tell you all about this. One moment here. Okay, so here's the thing, folks. I had asked David to come on, join us at the MegaCast today for a live keynote. And yesterday, he starts, feeling a little under the weather. And then today, he's out sick. But guys, I swear I saw his fishing gear out in the back of his camera shot yesterday when we were having a meeting. So, okay, David, you're out sick today. So I want you guys to play a little Sherlock Holmes with me, and we are going to give David a call right now, live from the MegaCast, and just check in. We're going to see how his recovery's going. All right, let's give him a call here. Oh, hey, David, how you
Oh,
feeling?
hey, Jess. Hey, Jess. I'm starting to feel better. Yeah, yeah. How you doing? What's going on today?
Good, good. I'm glad you're feeling better. Well, listen, David, I've got the whole MegaCast audience here with me because they all wanted to tell you that they hope that you feel better. We were really concerned. David, wait, is that a lake behind you there?
Well, yeah, yeah. It's the ocean actually,
Oh,
I'm just recovering, doing some recovery.
sure. Yeah, ocean, sea bathing, really good, important for the cold.
Right.
David, obviously, since you're very sick, it would be so rude of me to ask you to do a keynote. So I would not ask you to do a keynote. But maybe since we have you here with us, can I ask you just a teensy tiny itty bitty little question?
Well, sure. I mean, we're not on the MegaCast like live, are we?
I mean, no, we're just chatting with our friends here. It's just a
Oh,
casual
okay.
thing.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
sure. Go ahead. Whatever you
yeah.
need, Jess.
So David, I've been thinking about this whole data protection thing. We're hearing a lot more about it these days, and I'm just wondering, are we just talking more about it, or is it actually more important now?
Oh, I mean, data protection, disaster recovery. I mean, these are more important today than ever before. I mean, I'm sure everybody's heard stats like companies attacked by ransomware every 8 seconds. And I think I saw one yesterday. It was like by 2031, it's going to be every 2 seconds companies are being infected with ransomware. So these attacks, they cost like 1.8 million, I saw yesterday, just some incredible amounts of money that are impacting these companies. And what company out there has a spare 1.8 million dollars laying around to pay a ransom? So yeah, this is a topic that's more important today than ever before.
Well, that's a really good answer, David, and I do appreciate that, and I should definitely let you go. But I had a teeny tiny follow up, very casually, because
Sure.
obviously I would never ask you to work when
Oh,
you're out sick.
of
I would
course.
never do that. Yeah, but most companies out there, they do have a backup app already. So why should they be reviewing it and maybe considering alternatives?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think that's a good question. Like most companies have an app, but it might be a legacy app. It's maybe an app that was created 20 years ago or 10 years ago, or it's just not up to date for these next generation applications, cloud native applications. Maybe it wasn't created when the cloud even existed. And so, it's time we try to innovate in all levels of IT. Why aren't we innovating more when it comes to data protection and disaster recovery?
Hmm. Well, and that's a great answer, and I really appreciate you giving me that information, especially when you are sick. And you should 100% get back to your recovery, David, because recovery is health is so important. I mean,
Yeah.
it's almost as important as data protection apps. And David, I would never ask you another question when you are clearly so very under the weather. I would not do that. But I mean, if I was to think about asking you a follow up question, I might hypothetically say something like, but David, don't most data protection apps check those boxes?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you put up matrices of, all the check boxes, many of the apps are going to check all the boxes, but you have to take it another level deeper and investigate these apps for yourself. I mean, how easily do they do that? How easily can you recover? How quickly can you recover? How can you recover, say, like containers and Kubernetes applications? What about, recovering your data in the cloud? What's their support like? Do they back up and protect, SaaS applications? What kind of RPO and RTO can you get from these applications? And how do you really know it? Can you test it? Can you prove it? I mean, just like that sandbar out there at low tide, you don't want to run into that when it comes time for recovery. You want to have planned and prepared and know where that is and be prepared to avoid it. To make sure that your recovery of massive amounts of data, you have to perhaps recover your entire environment if you're impacted by ransomware as quickly as possible. You want to be prepared for that. So that's my take. Your legacy applications aren't probably going to cut it. Look for new, innovative applications.
Well, David, I have to tell you, I'm so bummed that you couldn't be here with us to do a live keynote today, because obviously, when you're not well, the last thing you want to do is, think about work and performing and putting on any kind of presentation. So I'm so sorry that we couldn't join you for that, but I hope you know that all of us at the MegaCast are wishing you well and hoping that you have a good, beautiful recovery day, inside, doors closed, with a hot cup of tea.
Hey, this has been good, Jess, but I got to get back to recovery now. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye, David.
Bye.
Oh, David. All right. Well, he's getting back to his oceanfront recovery. We will carry on with the MegaCast here. And you can see there's a poll up on the screen for you all. What we're looking for is a little bit of additional information. What is the time frame that you have for adding new or updating existing IT solutions at your company? So obviously today we're talking about the assessing and improving side of things. So this is a little bit more general. It's, sometimes we talk about implementing a new backup system, or talking about implementing a new zero trust approach, or something that's a little more specific. In this case, we're kind of talking a little bit of a broader field. So what are you thinking in terms of looking at some of these recovery, protection, disaster recovery options, and when would you be thinking about implementing them? So we have 0 to 6 months, 6 to 12, 12 to 24, or not sure, which, hey, is a fine answer. It looks like that's where a lot of you are kind of settling, and that is a great place to start because that means that we have a lot of opportunity to kind of grow and explore and give you guys some ideas of maybe what you might be looking for and what impact that might have on your organization. So I like that, and I'm going to move things along. Thank you to everyone who is still answering that poll. But we are going to finally, get into our very first session of the day. And it is definitely a great way to kick off the MegaCast because we will be chatting with TierPoint and Zerto. I'm very excited to introduce you to our first two expert presenters in the MegaCast. We're going to be chatting with Bob Brown, Senior Solutions Engineer at TierPoint, and Mike Nassas, Product Marketing Manager at Zerto. Bob and Mike, thank you so much for being here with us today to kick things off. Now, I know you have a lot of great info to cover with us. So Mike, I'm going to hand things right on over to you. Take it away.
And we also have Bob Brown, who's a Senior Solutions Engineer at TierPoint. And today we're going to take the next 20 minutes or so to really talk to you about how Zerto can help you achieve an uninterrupted 24/7 business, and why customers just like you trust Zerto with their most critical digital assets. I'm really excited to talk with you guys today about disaster recovery. This is Zerto's bread and butter. But before we get into that, I just wanted to give you a quick snippet of Zerto's roots. We've been around for almost 15 years now with a couple thousand partners that share our vision, including awesome partners like TierPoint, right? And last year, we were actually excited and able to become part of the HPE team. We currently serve over 9,500 customers across all industries around the globe. And what we do is help organizations protect, recover, and move data for continuous availability, no matter what environment. And specifically, we're going to hone in on that recovery part today. Recently, IDC published a survey asking its respondents a couple of questions. The first one was, what are your organization's biggest challenges with respect to disaster recovery? The number one challenge was IT personnel knowledge and skill, as well as IT personnel time and resources. They were both tied for first. Lucky for everyone on this call, we have just a partner to address that, TierPoint, with their disaster recovery as a service solution, or DRaaS. I'll let Bob get into that a little bit more during his presentation, but for our purposes, let's look at the second biggest DR challenge overall, which was listed as recovery time. Now, if you look at the next question as well, what are some of your organization's specific challenges related to implementing DR in the cloud? The number one challenge there was also recovery time. So we see this as a common theme. How do we address this? So when it comes to recovery time and downtime, daily backups often won't cut it. With recovery point objectives, or RPOs, of an entire day and recovery time objectives, or RTOs, of 8 hours, the business impacts of being down that long are huge, right? With the average cost of downtime being $250,000 per hour, this would give you an $8 million impact to your business. What you're going to want to do instead is have a tried and true disaster recovery solution like Zerto. We can actually get your RPOs down to seconds and your RTOs down to mere minutes. And it's important, of course, to keep in mind that these single-digit RPOs sound great, but they also have real-world implications, right? So when these things are measured in hours, every single outage ends up costing much more than it has to. So from a potential $8 million impact with your backup solution to $42,000 with Zerto. I don't think I really have to say much more than that. Now, everything I just mentioned sounds great in theory, right? But how does it translate in real life? Well, when we take a look at some actual Zerto customers and what our solution does for them, it's really astounding. Some of the largest and most known companies around the globe, like United Airlines, CVS, and others, rely on Zerto to protect thousands of VMs while simultaneously delivering single-digit RPOs. We're really the only company with a continuous data protection solution that can deliver these types of numbers when we're talking about single-digit RPOs across thousands of VMs on a huge organizational scale, and do that across totally disparate infrastructures and requirements and applications. It's really the reason that everybody from nonprofits to small businesses to government organizations to Fortune 100 companies trust us with their digital assets. Now, how do we accomplish these single-digit RPOs and RTOs? Well, the backbone of our solution is continuous data protection, or CDP. This is really what I like to call our secret sauce. We can recover using very granular points in time to minimize data loss to seconds with very little downtime and drastically reduce the impact of a disruption. This continuous data protection utilizes journal-based technologies to keep a log of all the changes occurring and offers a point-in-time recovery in increments of seconds. We'll talk about that a little bit more in the slides to come. Now, the simplified recovery we're describing here is really powered by a built-in and purpose-built orchestration engine. It's not a separate product that's been, bolted on top. It's built in, and you're able to actually select the applications or servers you want to recover, pick the exact point in time you need down to the second, and then start the failover, the test, or restore process. So when there's a disruption or outage, this kind of lightning fast recovery is exactly how you can dramatically limit that downtime and get back up and running quickly, right? And of course, when we talk with customers about all the advantages of Zerto, top of mind is always where can they achieve this, right? They're often running disparate platforms and multi-cloud environments where continuous availability is critical no matter where this data or the apps live. And that's really where Zerto can add value, right? By unlocking the true hybrid cloud resilience. So whether you're on a private cloud, ramping up your public cloud usage, or you're, of course, working with one of our great service providers like TierPoint, Zerto can help you minimize that data loss and downtime. So you can move from and between clouds and within clouds. And of course, we can even help you if you're looking at emerging technology like Kubernetes, or you need data protection for SaaS apps as well. And then finally, of course, we make it easy to deploy and scale. Being software only and hardware and storage agnostic, this makes everything much simpler, and installation is lightning fast. All that replication and journaling I mentioned earlier is all easily reported on in a variety of ways, giving you multi-site visibility through Zerto Analytics, which is our solution that's included at no additional cost. So you can view things like the protection and recovery status of all of your applications. Now, since I really only have a limited time to talk with you today, I'm really only able to give you a glimpse into what Zerto does, right, with that prior slide. But what I wanted to do here is dig a little deeper into that one topic, which is really Zerto's core. So at the heart of our solution is what we talked about earlier, continuous data protection, or CDP. Part of what makes CDP so powerful is the unique journaling capabilities that we have. Just being able to capture a write or an IO doesn't necessarily mean you have true CDP. It has to be paired with a dynamic, hyper-efficient journal. So our journal actually tracks every single change made in your application, and it logs these as checkpoints every 5 or 10 seconds. With a traditional backup, you're going to lose several hours of data. But with Zerto, let's say you get hit with a disaster at 10 o'clock on the dot. It's very easy to roll back to 9:59 and 55 seconds. Again, I'll say that one more time, 9:59 and 55 seconds, and completely mitigate that infection. So you're really only losing 5 seconds there. It's actually pretty astounding. Now, I don't have too much time left, but one of the final things I wanted to leave you with here was a specific customer example, right? We have a company called Takata that manufactures protective fabric for firefighters, military, and other very demanding occupations, right? They were actually, before Zerto, they were using antiquated backup tapes and disks as their recovery solution. They were hit with a ransomware attack, and they faced 12 hours of data loss in 2 weeks of recovery. Their services are far too critical and to be down this long, and of course the impact on revenue was huge. This is where Zerto really changed this. They were able to shift their strategy to Zerto's continuous data protection instead of the backup tape. And they actually got hit with a ransomware attack again while utilizing Zerto this time, but they went from 12 hours of data loss to 10 seconds, and from a 2-week recovery time frame to less than 10 minutes. Those numbers are staggering. So at the end of the day, what Zerto does at its core is we remove risk, reduce cost, and allow you to innovate faster with our continuous protection for any app, cloud, or threat. We're able to help you mitigate disruptions, neutralize ransomware threats, and recover in minutes to seconds before an attack, right? And on top of that, I wasn't able to get into it too much today, but we also are able to help you when it comes to unlocking multi-cloud and hybrid cloud capabilities and allowing you to simplify migrations as well as improve operational efficiencies. And now finally, I'll leave you with these last words. We have an array of resources and tools that really allow you to really try out Zerto, right? Whether it's a live demo, a hands-on lab, or even a free trial that allows you to try out Zerto in your own environment. We're really proud to offer these resources so you can experience Zerto firsthand before making your decision. And with that, I'm going to pass it along to my friend Bob with TierPoint.
Thanks, Michael. Hello, everyone. This is Bob Brown. I'm a lead solutions engineer with TierPoint. I want to thank everyone for taking the time to join us today. I want to start out by giving a brief overview of TierPoint, who we are, what we do, and then we'll get into our partnership with Zerto and how our solutions help our customers become more resilient with our industry-leading disaster recovery services. We have one of the nation's largest data center footprints with over 40 locations across the U.S. that are all interconnected with our own fiber network with speeds of up to 100 gigabits per second. We have cloud on-ramps to all of the major hyperscale providers that are available from any of our data centers. With this footprint of data centers across the U.S. and our interconnectivity option, TierPoint is well positioned to provide a disaster recovery solution that will meet any customer's requirements. Here we have a high-level overview of the services provided by TierPoint. As you can see, we have a wide variety of services to help our clients meet their IT and business needs. TierPoint offers customized cloud solutions using our multi-tenant cloud, which is available in 8 data centers across the United States. Hosted private cloud solutions with dedicated hardware are available in any of our data centers, and we also provide public cloud services within AWS and Azure. For customers that are running IBM Power Systems and mainframe, I-Series, P-Series, and Z-Series, TierPoint offers solutions for both production and DR services on these platforms. We offer a full suite of security services that can be wrapped around any of our managed services. Also, we have a full service consulting team that provides support across the full portfolio of our services, including assistance with business impact analysis to assist in your disaster recovery planning. Choosing a disaster recovery partner can be a difficult decision. TierPoint is a recognized leader in the DRaaS industry. We have been recognized by Gartner and Forrester for our DR services and have been Zerto's Managed Services Partner of the Year in both 2021 and 2022. We have over 1,500 customers that utilize our DRaaS solutions and over 15,000 VMs protected. This makes TierPoint the #1 managed service provider for protected VMs with Zerto. Utilizing TierPoint for your disaster recovery needs has many benefits. We have a very mature disaster recovery practice with tenured professionals on staff to ensure that your company's business requirements are met during a disaster. We don't provide cookie-cutter solutions when designing your DRaaS solution. We work with you to determine the right solution for your business needs and determine the most cost-effective solution to help meet those stated business requirements. TierPoint's DRaaS solutions powered by Zerto are a fully managed service providing support from implementation where our experts will work with you to develop a recovery runbook to monitoring the replication, ongoing support, and annual testing. Many customers may look to take on a DRaaS project internally. However, a report from the Disaster Recovery Preparedness Council found that 65% of companies who take a do-it-yourself approach to disaster recovery are not able to recover their environments, and only about 10% can meet the business required recovery time objectives. Getting into a little bit more detail around our DRaaS solution powered by Zerto, it's an enterprise-class recovery solution built on best-in-class enterprise hardware. It is delivered as a warm site solution, meaning that the VMs at the recovery site are not live, but the data is on site and they can be recovered in a very quick fashion. The solution provides a financially backed SLA that guarantees 10 VMs will be recovered every 15 minutes. All of our DRaaS solutions are hosted in TierPoint hardened data centers that follow best practices on physical security standards and maintain several compliance certifications such as PCI, HIPAA, SOC 2, and others. Highly regulated customers or customers with high security requirements can greatly benefit from this during their audits. TierPoint includes non-disruptive testing with our DRaaS services using Zerto's isolated sandbox testing. This allows replication to continue during testing and will continue to protect the customer's environment during a DR test. For customers that are interested in performing additional testing, non-isolated and full failover tests are available through TierPoint as well. For customers that are interested in being more hands-on with the DR solution, we also offer a client self-service DRaaS. This will still utilize Zerto software and TierPoint will provide the recovery environment, but the customer will be responsible for the actual recovery during a disaster. Most customers tend to utilize our fully managed solutions and gain the benefit of our dedicated teams to bring up their environment during a disaster, thereby leaving their internal teams to focus on getting the production environment back online. One question we get often is, how can this DRaaS solution help me with something like a ransomware attack? We'll always stress that preventative security and stopping ransomware from being introduced into the environment is the best practice. But with attacks becoming more advanced, you will need to have a reactive strategy as well. We have to understand that ransomware is a disaster event. You need a proven, tested DR strategy to be in place should you become a victim of ransomware. Using Zerto's continuous data protection, customers have the ability to recover to a point in time prior to the ransomware encrypting the data and allowing the customer to provide mitigation efforts to remove the ransomware. As we mentioned previously, TierPoint provides flexible recovery options for our DRaaS customers. We support DRaaS solutions from production environments that may be in a customer office or data center, a third-party data center, TierPoint colocation facility, or a TierPoint multi-tenant or hosted private cloud. Target recovery locations can include our multi-tenant cloud or hosted private cloud environments. The multi-tenant cloud solution provides a secure virtual data center within one of our cloud pods for customers to recover. With 8 geographically dispersed data centers hosting our multi-tenant cloud pods, this solution provides a great option for many of our DRaaS customers. Customers may also opt for a hosted private cloud DR target with dedicated hardware. They may require a dedicated environment due to specific requirements that would not allow them to utilize a multi-tenant cloud solution. The size of their environment may have made the hosted private cloud a more cost-effective solution, or it could have simply been a preference of the company. The hosted private cloud solutions can be deployed in any of the TierPoint data centers. For customers interested in recovering into a hyperscale cloud provider such as AWS or Azure, TierPoint offers customized solutions to support these as well. TierPoint also offers a hybrid cloud recovery that can utilize multiple different cloud environments based upon the needs of the customer. TierPoint's disaster recovery solutions support customers of every size and a variety of industries. As you can see here, we have companies with 4 VMs, as well as a large national medical company with over 3,500 VMs being protected by our Zerto-based solution. You can see that all of these companies are maintaining a near zero RPO for their solutions, and all are backed by the SLA of recovering 10 VMs every 15 minutes. The regional bank shown on the page is still in their implementation phase, and we have not determined an exact RPO at this time. We strive to partner with our customers to achieve their desired results of their disaster recovery programs. We take the time in the pre-sales process to understand the business needs of our customers and ensure that the solution is delivering on those needs. We dig into the details of the environment to ensure that we're covering all aspects of the recovery, including employee access, partner recovery access, security requirements, many things that are often overlooked. All of these details are incorporated into the overall design and incorporated into the customer's DR runbook. As mentioned previously, we can provide consulting services if companies require a business impact analysis, disaster recovery assessment, and business continuity and disaster recovery strategies. We even have options for business continuity DR seats within many of our data centers that provide a location for your employees to work during a disaster event. Our dedicated team of disaster recovery engineers are fully focused on ensuring your DRaaS environment will be fully operational if a disaster should occur. They are monitoring the status of the replication of your environment, validating the status of your runbook, and testing the solution regularly. If you would like to learn more about TierPoint disaster recovery solutions, you can visit us on the web at www.tierpoint.com or call us at 877-859-8437. We will connect you to one of our DR experts who will work with you to determine your company's business requirements for a disaster recovery solution. They will discuss the different services we can offer and share industry trends that they are seeing across TierPoint. They will also work with you to set up next steps to ensure that we can help you achieve your goals. And again, I want to thank everybody for their time today, and I will pass it back for any questions that you may have for us about Zerto and the TierPoint DRaaS solutions. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. Well, we are ready to jump into some questions. I want to start by saying thanks to Bob and Mike, and also welcoming Anthony Dutra, who's here with you, and a lot of you will remember that name from previous awesome presentations. Before we dive into our Q&A with you guys, Bob, Mike, and Anthony, I just want to very quickly point out that we have a poll up on the screen here for you. And what we're looking for is what additional information you would all like to get about the TierPoint Zerto solution. So this is a great opportunity to make sure that you get follow-ups, that you get the answers that you're looking for. Obviously, lots of great information that we just covered, and there's still lots more to learn. So make sure you take a moment right right now, click on that poll and make your life easy. They'll hand the info right to you. So just let them know what you're looking for, and then we'll make sure that that information gets your way. But guys, Bob, Mike, Anthony, you ready to dive into some questions here?
Absolutely.
Let's do it. Sure.
All right. We got the whole team. I want to just start by saying we have a few people looking for links from Zerto. So Patrick, Jeffrey, we're going to make sure that we send those to you. And if anyone else is looking for a specific link from Zerto, please do post that in the questions tab and we'll make sure we follow up with you. Guys, we have a few people kind of wondering about this sort of the rewinding back to something that is potentially already infected. So I'm going to read Khan's question here, but I saw a few come in like this. How does Zerto ensure that rewinding to a previous snapshot doesn't also contain the ransomware exploit?
Yeah, so I'll take that one, and that's a great question overall. Pretty much at this time, it's sort of more of a functionality for you to keep testing and going back to seeing when that point in time was. We also have, you have to keep testing it. So there is no way right now that Zerto does that out of the gate. Come June this year, there is something that is going to be helping with that, but we always suggest, pairing Zerto with a good internet security tool that would, kind of allow for that finding of anomalies before recovering to that point in time.
Interesting. There was that answers another question that was wondering if Zerto, if it would be best used to kind of pair with potentially another backup solution, or it sounds like in this case you're saying maybe another protection solution as well.
Yeah, we do see that a lot, quite a bit, right? So there would be people who would use Zerto for mainly mission critical or operational recoveries. But even like a TerraPoint DRaaS solution provider, them using Zerto as us, I'm sure they have built-in capabilities in there where they might be using backup with it to sort of help combat that too. So good use of the technology overall.
Can you talk a little bit about, we got a few questions in about different, everyone's got different environments, so VM and on-prem and cloud and hybrid, and then some questions about whether or not, cross-hypervisor or cross-cloud protection applies. Can you just cover for us, and I realize I just asked you like 7 questions in one, but what, if there's any limitations that people should be aware of with the specific environment that they have?
Yeah, so limitations not so much right now. Zerto, from a hypervisor perspective, because I did see a lot of those questions, it works for both Hyper-V as well as VMware. We work in the cloud. We're working a lot with Amazon, so we can replicate EC2 instances. We can actually replicate from on-premise Hyper-V or VMware to AWS or Azure. And then we are very big into Kubernetes. So we can pretty much replicate to a lot of different Kubernetes services in the cloud. So yeah, to answer your a lot of questions, we have a lot of different solutions for it. And really depending on your need, I'm sure that there's a fit there.
See, this is why you're a pro. I just asked you like 7 questions, and you just gave us one solid answer for all of them, and I love it. I wish we could keep going, but we are running a little bit short on time. Before we wrap up, though, I just want to get an idea from you. For anyone out there that is really excited, wants to jump in and learn more or get rolling with TierPoint Zerto, what would you recommend as a first step?
Okay, well, I'll just say the hands-on labs for one. Go check out, just Google Zerto hands-on labs, get hands-on, sign up, and you can play with the solution for yourself. And then reach out to anybody from TerraPoint. Great presentations from Mike and the TerraPoint team today. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, I love that. It's been really informative, and I don't know if you have a little time to stick around and answer a few more questions on live chat. Otherwise, for anyone that asked a question, we will make sure it goes to the team, so you'll get answers to that. Well, thank you to all 3 of you for being here with us today. That was really exciting. A great way to kick off the MegaCast.
Thank you.
Absolutely, thank you.
All right. Well, and I want to thank all of you who took some time to answer that poll that's up on the screen there. Please do make sure, if you haven't already done so, that you do, mark down. Let TierPoint Zerto know what information they can send you. Again, your future self will thank you for clicking on that now. Make your future life a little easier. Another way that you can get some great information right away is to head on over to the Handouts tab and download the TierPoint fact sheet, cloud-to-cloud recovery, disaster recovery as a service, how to make sure that you can meet your RTO, your ROP needs with some really cool automations and more. It's a very engaging, concise read, so please do go check that out. I promise you that is worth it. But for now, we are going to stop and do some prize giveaways because I know you're wondering, hey, we haven't done a prize yet, so let's do it. We're going to start with a $500 Amazon gift card. Now, I'm going to remind you again, and I'm going to keep reminding you throughout the session today, that you do need to be here live present with us at the MegaCast in order to win. Our very first winner of a $500 Amazon gift card is Simon Ziobro of New Jersey. Simon Ziobro of New Jersey, congratulations. As always, we will be in touch about claiming your prize after we wrap up today. Now, don't forget there are still lots more chances to win a prize, plus that best question gift card from each session. But now we are going to keep zipping right along because we've got lots of sessions to get to today, and I know that you're all excited to keep things rolling. So let's pull up our next presenter here. I am very excited to introduce you all to Ben Clark, Senior Product Marketing Manager at Nasuni. Ben, thank you so much for being here with us today. I know you have a ton of great info to cover, so I'm going to hand things on over to you. Take it away, Ben.
So thank you, everyone. I am Ben Clark, Product Marketing Manager at Nasuni, and today I'm going to introduce everyone a little bit about Nasuni and our platform and what we're doing for disaster recovery and ransomware. So I actually want to skip over to a couple slides. I'll come back to this one and start with some of the drivers or pain points we see to why people adopt Nasuni as their choice of cloud platform. And so one of the main reasons would be a legacy upgrade. So if end of service file servers or NAS systems, a good example like Store Simple ending, IT has to replace it with something because Microsoft no longer supports it, or just the end-of-life hardware, and customers are looking to not make costly investments in hardware every few years and look into putting more data into the cloud, as well as just maybe just having a lot more capacity or data capacity that they're expecting, and the cloud might be easier for those larger capacities. Number two, initiatives to put more data in the cloud. So we see a lot of IT leaders mandating that they move to the cloud as a part of a strategic initiative moving forward, or sometimes have deadlines to move out of a particular data center. And so they're looking for another choice, and a lot of times the cloud is a great choice for that. And then finally, a lot of operational issues that Nasuni specifically helps our customers meet. Number one, looking for reduced costs when it comes to their file data storage. They're looking for better file sharing and global collaboration, especially with remote hybrid users or a lot of locations around the globe. And then specifically, the main topic of today, looking for a better strategy and a better ability for disaster recovery, for dealing with ransomware attacks, and for having more adequate RPOs and RTOs. And so all of these drivers bring people to Nasuni and are solved by a lot of the aspects that we bring. And so let's take a look at the previous slide, take a look at the Nasuni File Data Services platform. And so Nasuni's File Data Platform provides all the capabilities of file shares, file backup, recovery, ransomware protection, disaster recovery, and multi-site file synchronization all in one solution. The global file system resides fully in cloud object storage like Amazon S3, Azure Blob, or GCP object storage, and also support on-premise object storage. And so if you're familiar with object storage, it's a different type of cloud storage than block storage, but offers greater durability and greater scalability at a much lower cost. And with Nasuni, we make our object storage great for storing customers' file data with volumes and files of any size and unlimited immutable versions. And so Other solutions generally use object storage as a tiering target for inactive data, archived data at lower cost, but Nasuni uses object data for all of our customers' data. And with the gold copies of their file data consolidated within that object storage, you can finally have that true global namespace at a significantly lower cost. And so then from there, we have that file data platform with your data in object storage up in the cloud. And on site, we have access points at the edge, Nasuni's edge instances that are generally lightweight VMs that cache copies of active data from that object storage on the on-premise locations or cloud regions, so there is no latency to access all this information. And they are kind of the front line for your data protection strategy. And so when people are making changes or updating their data, these edge caches are sending unlimited snapshots to the cloud at extremely tight intervals where they become immutable objects and are generally impervious to ransomware. And we'll kind of dive a little deeper into that further. And then finally, the last part of the platform I wanted to touch on was Nasuni's Orchestration Center, which is our cloud service for scalable multi-site file sharing. And so when people are making these changes and with these really tight snapshots and updating their data up to that gold version in the cloud, the Orchestration Center is then quickly propagating it to all of your locations and users. So you're really getting all the updated information globally almost instant. And so moving forward, we talked about some drivers to Nasuni and just wanted to highlight a customer right now and why they use Nasuni. And so API Group kind of hits on a lot of those drivers and strengths of Nasuni that I just touched on, but also are a great champion of our ransomware solution and there's a little quote provided at the bottom. But API Group is a large company consisting of 40 different companies within 4 major business sectors all around the globe. And they use Nasuni to hold 273 terabytes of file data along 200 locations. And it's all consolidated in this one file data platform. And disaster and ransomware resilience is a big part for them and are a big thing for them and why they chose Nasuni, but also to collaborate globally on these projects and to all pull from that store of data using Nasuni. And so you can see that the quote at the bottom, Nasuni continues to improve and add value to their product. With the latest Nasuni release, they've enhanced our business resilience strategy by enabling the ability to detect, alert, and respond to ransomware attacks, as well as rapidly recover from any possible data encryption. So we're going to get into that solution now. But to begin, the strength innately in the Nasuni platform, when we're talking about those snapshots, is just the ability to recover quickly. And so file shares are everywhere and generally hold up to 80% of company data. So it's one of the most common parts of a company, or some of the most common data to be attacked by a ransomware attack. And with traditional network-based backup solutions, the restore can be one of the longest pieces of getting back to business. And restoring files specifically can take hours, days, or even weeks. And so what we talked about earlier, Nasuni snapshots are unlimited, incorruptible, and can be retained for as long as you need them. And they're taken every few minutes and can be stored automatically in your choice of Google, Azure, or AWS in unlimited low-cost object storage. So basically, if you're affected by a ransomware attack with Nasuni, you already have multiple snapshots of intervals a few minutes apart that you can simply dial back to the very point in time before the attack occurred without having to move or restore that data at all. You're kind of just dialing back to right before it happened and then rehydrating that data down to all of your locations. So customers have the flexibility to restore specific files, directories, or even an entire volume to surgically recover just the files that were corrupted within as little as a minute prior to the attack. And so you can focus on restoring only the files that have been affected versus an entire volume, which makes that even quicker And a lot of times this can happen with no downtime and before anyone even notices. And so as you can see a little graphic here, and we have a great video of a demo of restoring over 1 million files, I think over a petabyte of data in like a minute, or I think less than a minute, that we can send out later if we get some requests in the chat. But this is really a feature built into the Nasuni platform, just kind of how it's built, that our customers have loved for years. And now that ransomware has become a more prevalent topic, and we've been having more discussions about ransomware with our customers, in 2022, we want to expand upon this and create a more comprehensive ransomware solution. Because, yeah, it's great to restore millions of files in minutes, but you do have to know that there's a ransomware attack. You have to know which files were affected to restore. You have to know what clients were affected, et cetera. And so we have expanded upon that, focusing on some of the NIST industry standards of protect, detect, respond, and recover. And just to connect some dots, we hit on that protect with the unlimited snapshots, protected as immutable versions, and we have that fast recovery. And so looking at our solution, you can see on the right-hand side the features provided by core services, infinite snapshots, and the recovery. But some of the newest features now that we feature in our ransomware solution is, first of all, extremely quick detection at the edge of a ransomware attack. So it's continuously monitoring for ransomware signatures and ransomware extensions that are updated with the newest information multiple times a day. So it can quickly detect ransomware attacks. It's not looking at data after the fact from backup, but actually monitoring right at the edge to quickly identify this. And as soon as it does, it sends alerts and notifications to the main stakeholders. And then if the attack continues, there's mitigation policy. So as soon as it identifies an incident, it will send an alert. And then within minutes, the attack is actually isolated and stopped. And so not only to help with the whole recovery process are we detecting an attack, but within a few minutes, if files continue to be encrypted, that client will be blocked in that IP address, and the blast radius of that attack will be reduced heavily. And so, I mean, you see with some of these ransomware attacks these days, they could be encrypting tens of thousands of files a minute. So every second you don't know about it is going to make that recovery process a lot harder, and is just going to continue to spread the attack. So not only are we detecting it here, but quickly isolating and stopping the attack. And then another great feature, as soon as the incident has been created, a report is also generated that identifies the source of the attack, exactly what files were infected, and a great timeline that lays out every action of this whole process. And so when you see a timeline of when it was first detected, when it was blocked, and then when one of the main features here is when the last clean snapshot was to aid in the recovery process. So think about that now. We talked about fast recovery, but you need all those other aspects to it. Well, now you know exactly when it's detected. You get an alert. The attack is stopped in minutes, so the attack is no longer affecting multiple volumes and thousands of files. So the blast radius is really minimized there. But then you get an incident report to tell you all the information you need to know, as well as the last clean snapshot. So then you know exactly where you even need to recover to. And like I said, it could be a minute before the attack even happened. So that's identified for you right there, and you can then move on to the recovery process, which at this point you might not need to recover millions of files, but you can go right to before that attack even started. Okay. And so with this solution, even in the last year when it was released, it has been well received, and just wanted to highlight a few of the award spotlights and the reason why this this solution was picked for these awards. So we have the SC Awards of 2022, and then most recently, I think in the last month or two, the Best Cloud Disaster Recovery and Business Continuity Solution from the Cloud Awards. And just to highlight a quote from one of the judges at the Cloud Awards, traditional data protection offerings from backup vendors that rely on a centralized approach to file scanning cannot respond quickly enough to ransomware with their second copy architecture. With Nasuni's rapid ransomware recovery, the time needed to recover from a ransomware attack is drastically reduced, and the new ransomware protection service enables organizations to speed up their cyber attack response further. And so the speed is really the key here. We talked about speed with recovery, and I talked about how all of our new added features add to this speed and add value to this solution. Because what we've really been seeing is that speed is more important than the ransom itself. I mean, we all know that it's not if, but when a company is affected by ransomware, but we're now seeing that the ransom itself isn't even that high of a number, but it's really the cost of downtime due to recovery. And when you're recovering from backup, and it could take days to weeks, it's going to really add up. And so some of the stats we've seen with small businesses, it could be up to 24,000 per hour of downtime, medium to large, over 500,000, and then high-risk industries, which we deal with a lot, manufacturing, government, banking and finance, it could be millions of dollars per hour. And so our solution is all in the management console of our platform. It covers all of the file data that we store for our customers. And we are seeing a few different personas here. So small businesses tend to not have security teams, many solutions for their ransomware security. So for their file data, they really like our solution as just being comprehensive from start to finish, all in the same platform they know. But then even with medium and large businesses, when they have dedicated security systems, they have teams, this has been really well received as just one more layer of protection, looking at that defense in depth approach. Like I said, file data is one of the most commonly affected parts of an organization. And so just having one more layer there has been really great for our larger customers as well. And here's some data that we've received working with ESG recently, once again talking about lost business hours. And like I said, the average cost of downtime is in the hundreds of thousands. And in 2022, it was 23 times greater than the average ransom request. And so looking at this, how long customers affected by ransomware have been down. So 56% of these customers have taken more than 6 hours to recover. And if you saw large companies can be in the millions per hour, you can see 6% have been taking more than 2 days. But even 30%, 1 hour to less than 6 hours. So that's 86% of companies take at least an hour to recover from a ransomware attack. And so this downtime is really the costly part of getting hit. And so just combining everything we saw. So the usual process of getting hit by a ransomware attack, first the detection can sit the attack can sit undetected for months. A lot of times you're looking at backups and analyzing them after the fact to find these ransomware attacks that could be spreading throughout your organization. You attempt to respond to that, to isolate and stop the attack, identify the source, cut off the source, figure out what files were affected, and then prepare to recover. And then when you're ready to recover, you hope that the data was backed up. You hope it's usable for a full recovery. And then once you're ready for that, restoring from backup can take so long. Sometimes we're seeing people are better off just paying the ransom and hoping they get their data back, because if they have to restore from backups, it can take days. But I mean, if you look at the data, almost no one that pays the ransom is actually getting 100% of their data back. And so what does this look like with Nasuni? Detection is extremely fast in real time at the edge. the attack is stopped in minutes with the mitigation policies to limit that blast radius, as well as a report is generated telling you everything you need to know to be able to understand what happened, understand the attack, and to recover quickly. And like I said, you have snapshots every minute, and this incident report tells you exactly where to recover to. And then once you get to recovery, you can recover millions of files a minute with our rapid ransomware recovery. And so every piece of the puzzle that we put together in this solution was all about allowing our customers never to lose any productivity, to get back to business as soon as possible. And with that, that's my last slide. And I have about a 5-minute video that kind of sums it up and kind of runs through a quick demo of all these pieces of our ransomware solution. So I think if I just go to the next slide, should that start playing?
I think we're.
Oh no! Okay, wait, no. Next slide. That was a placeholder. Now we got the video there.
When a ransomware attack happens, Nasuni knows that every second matters. That's why we are introducing Nasuni's ransomware protection add-on service. Nasuni's file data platform automatically protects your enterprise file data with continuous file versioning, so file changes are kept safe and secure forever. And the platform's rapid ransomware recovery can recover millions of files across any number of locations in just seconds. Our new ransomware protection add-on service dramatically shortens the overall timeline of the attack by adding detection and response capabilities. The service starts by detecting live ransomware attacks as they happen in line at the edge, and then automatically responds with mitigation policies to stop the attack and help you recover fast. Let's see it in action. Activating ransomware detection is as easy as flipping a switch. To avoid false positives, I can adjust the incident creation threshold to only send an alert when the threshold is passed. In this case, 50 violations within 5 minutes. The next step is enabling ransomware mitigation. The ransomware mitigation policies are designed to block a client that's involved in an attack. This reduces the impact the attacker can have on the file system and limits the number of files that can be encrypted as part of the attack. The mitigation policy also lets you set a threshold for the number of violations that will be tolerated before shutting down the client source of the attack. I'll click the Save button, and the management console will set this policy on all of the edge appliances connected to this volume. Now let's see how it works in an attack. Here we see 2 simulated ransomware attacks running simultaneously. On the left, there is no protection add-on service. On the right, we've enabled the service. What we see on the right is that the attack gets stopped at 97 files, and the attack is no longer able to proceed with its encryption. This means that the script can't damage the files any further. Compare this to the script running on the left, where there is no ransomware protection service. In just a matter of seconds, the attack has locked down hundreds of files and keeps going. An unmitigated attack can potentially impact tens of thousands or even millions of files in a very short period of time. Now let's take a look at Nasuni's incident management section, where we have a view of all of the incidents that have been detected by the system. A shield icon indicates that the system has proactively responded to the attack using the mitigation policies, and that the client was blocked. Now we know the attack has been stopped and controlled, and we now can access the incident report to fully understand the scope of the attack. Nasuni's ransomware attack incident report starts with a summary of key details about the incident, including the edge clients involving, the volume involved, and the number of files that were encrypted. It also provides an event timeline. The timeline illustrates key events related to the incident, including the last completed snapshot that was taken prior to the beginning of the incident. Now that we have all the details of the attack, we are ready to recover with Nasuni's rapid recovery process. I have a file browser loaded, and thanks to the incident report, I know which snapshot to recover to. In this case, the mitigation policy cut off the attacker, keeping the number of impacted files low. As a result, instead of restoring the entire folder, I can select just the files that were impacted and restore only those after selecting them. I'll click on the Restore Files link, adjust my restore options, and click the Restore button. End to end, this attack only took a few minutes to stop and recover from. When a ransomware attack happens, time becomes money, and every second you save reduces the economic impact on your organization. Nasuni's ransomware protection is designed with this in mind. We help your team respond quickly and ensure end users are back to accessing their files normally as quickly as possible. To learn how Nasuni's ransomware protection services can help your organization thrive in the face of today's ransomware threats, visit nasuni.com and contact us today.
All right, hope that was effective to kind of show some of these aspects of the solution in action and a little demo there. And with that, that's all I have, and I think we're ready to move on to questions. I think I'm over time already.
We're a little close to time, but we're going to sneak in at least one question because I really want to take advantage of having you here with us, Ben. But I'm just very quickly going to put that poll up on the screen. You guys all are familiar with this. This is what additional information you would like to get about the Nasuni solution. So again, this is clicking the easy button. This is you making your life simpler. Let Nasuni know what follow-ups you would like to get, what additional info you want, and they will send it right to you. You don't have to lift a finger except right now, and then just put it right down on your mouse. Click that poll. That's it. All right, well, let's jump into some questions. I do want to let you know you're getting some great high fives out there from the audience. Both Michael and Jeffrey wanted to let you know that they got a lot of other presentation, really enjoyed it. Let's go with this question to start. So Justin is wondering, and we get a lot of questions about customization, so I'm glad he asked us, can you create your own custom rules for detection, or are they predefined?
Hey, Justin. So you saw in the demo, I didn't mention the presentation, that there are thresholds that you can set for that detection. And generally, it's, there's a learning period to see how your organization and your specific files and business practices kind of affect that. And it's kind of something that has a preset and then you could customize. There are some organizations, I think specifically in the AEC industry, that have some files that might set off some false positives, and there is the ability to create a safe list as well. And so by customizing those thresholds and the ability for a safe list, you can create custom rules for that.
Love that. Okay, well, and that customization is important. You also covered, how it can work with different size organizations. So I think that's really helpful. Unfortunately, I wish we could keep going, but we're a little short on time, so I'm going to have to wrap it there. But before you leave us, for anyone out there that is really looking to get started with Nasuni, and I did see, by the way, 1 or 2 messages coming in asking for that demo video, so I think there's some follow-up requests there. But what is the best way to get started with Nasuni? What do you recommend?
I could definitely send out a demo, data sheet, things like that, but I think just reach out to us, and I think a personal demo works best. I think that video showed it a little bit, but meeting with one of our solution architects to go through an in-depth demo, I think is the best way to really learn more about the solution.
Oh yeah, it really makes all the difference, hey, getting into the sandbox and seeing how it's going to work for you. Well, I think that's a great place to get started. If you have some time, Ben, there's still quite a few questions. Feel free to stick around and answer those on live chat. Also, for everyone out there, we will make sure that Nasuni gets all your questions. And if you want that demo, easy way to do it, click on the poll right now up on your screen, and Nasuni will follow up and set that up. Ben, thank you so much for being here with us today.
All right, thank you.
All right. Well, and to everyone who answered the poll, appreciate that. And we're going to reward your participation by jumping into a prize giveaway now. So I'm going to give away both a $500 Amazon gift card and one of our grand prizes, which if you've forgotten all the way back to the start of the webinar, we are talking about a Microsoft Surface Laptop 5. That's pretty cool. So we're going to start with the $500 Amazon gift card. And before I jump into either of these giveaways, I will remind you one more time that you do need to be here live and present with us at the MegaCast. So our next winner of a $500 Amazon gift card is Za Ong of California. Za Ong of California, you have won a $500 Amazon gift card. Our very first winner of a Microsoft Surface Laptop 5, that's going to be Bill Pan, also of California. Bill Pan of California. Good day to be from California. You get the sunshine and gifties. Congratulations to Zah on your gift card and Bill on your awesome new laptop. We will be in touch about claiming your prizes after we wrap. Now, I want to remind you all, though, if you're feeling sad and glum, don't, because there are still lots more chances to win a prize today, plus that best question card from each session, so keep getting those questions in. But for now, we're going to keep zipping right along in our MegaCast because we have another exciting presentation lined up for you all, and I know you are all ready for some even more awesome information coming your way. Up next, very happy to introduce you to Jeff Reichert, Vice President Solution Strategy Office of the CTO at Veeam. Jeff, so excited to have you here with us today. Now, I know that we have a lot of info to cover. You want to leave some time for questions at the end. So I will step back and hand things over to you. Take it away, Jeff.
Thank you so much, Jess. Folks, thanks for being with us today. Again, my name is Jeff Reichert. I'm the Vice President of Solution Strategy on the product strategy team at Veeam. I work for our Chief Technology Officer, and I spend most of my time working with our large enterprise and public sector customers about data protection challenges that they're running into, compliance issues that they might be having around data management and data protection. And of course, these days, there's almost no conversation that we have that doesn't involve cybersecurity. What we're going to be covering today is results from some research that Veeam recently concluded in our ransomware trends report for 2022. Now, to let you know, this is research that we do annually. The respondents have no idea that it's Veeam asking the questions. We hire a professional research firm to do the research on our behalf. Likewise, we at Veeam have no idea who the respondents are. We get demographic information. As you can see from the chart on this page, we know that a certain percentage are security leaders, a certain percentage, in this case, were security practitioners, and then we had IT and operations leaders and backup administrators, of course. The only criterion that an organization had to meet to be part of our 2022 ransomware trends report was that they had to have been attacked by ransomware at least once in the last year. Now, we at Veeam have a selfish reason for doing this research. We want to find out in an unbiased way what's actually going on in this landscape, what organizations are running into, what challenges they're facing, how things are in the real world for them, so that we can design solutions around that. But we also do it so that we can come to you and share with you what other IT leaders are running into so that you can be aware maybe your situation looks like theirs, maybe it doesn't. Maybe you're aware of some changes that your organization needs to make, some changes they need to fund, but senior executive or financial leadership isn't quite on board with that. Being able to present information from a large survey like this can really help with making a business case for needed changes in the organization. So we're going to look at some of the results that we got from this survey, and we're going to look at some very specific lessons learned from those results that you should probably be taking to heart and thinking of in your data protection solution. So let's dive in. Part of the survey we ask every year, if you look back at the previous year, tell us about all the causes of outages that you had, and that's the long bar in this graph, and then tell us about which outages were the worst. You'll notice that when customers could answer, when organizations could answer about all the outages that they had, there's a lot of the usual suspects there. Things like network outages, software outages, application software outages, things like that. But when we ask about the most significant, and that's the two bars below, the middle bar is for last year's survey, and then the bottom bar is for this year's survey. In both of those years, the most significant outage for that organization, that is, if you could pick only one and tell us about the worst, was caused by a cybersecurity event. For some verticals, that is also not just the most significant outage, but it's also the most common cause of outages. For example, public sector, cybersecurity events was not just the worst outage organizations had, but it was the most common cause of outages, especially if you look at, for example, state and local government, very commonly affected by things like ransomware attacks. If you broaden the view a little bit and look at all human-caused events, accidental deletion, accidental overwrite or data corruption, or configuration error, or a malicious insider deliberately causing an outage, 4 out of the top 10 causes of outages that organizations had in the previous year were caused by things that people, either deliberately or accidentally, did that affected uptime and probably deleted data. If we narrow our focus just a little bit and look now just at ransomware attacks, one of the questions that we ask every year is, okay, you were one of these 1,000 respondents, you were hit by ransomware in the previous year. You remember the 4 different groups of respondents that we talked about before: security leaders, IT and operations leaders, and then we asked security practitioners and backup admins. I want you to look at these 3 places where data got affected. When we asked, where did you actually get data that was encrypted, that was affected by the ransomware attack? The middle 2 bars in each of these sets are very close together. And you'll notice those middle 2 bars, the middle left bar is the backup admin, and the middle right bar, the slightly brighter green, is the security professional. Those are the folks, when we asked, who are most in agreement when we asked, where did data get affected? And if you think about it, that's not a surprise, because the backup admins are the ones who are in charge of recovering that data if they can, and the security professionals are the ones who are hands-on actually fixing the problem after a ransomware attack. Now let's look at the actual question. Where did you have data affected? The left set of bars here, that is in the data center, is probably not a surprise to anyone. Most of us know that ransomware attacks are going to go after data in the data center. The middle set of bars might also not be a surprise. I think we're all used to the idea that some end user, perhaps in a remote office or home office, clicks on a bad link and data starts being encrypted, working from their device to devices all over the network. But what surprises a lot of folks when we talk with them about the results is this set of bars on the right. I want you to look and see the backup professionals, 46% of them said yes, data that we had up in the cloud was affected by the most recent ransomware attack. 51% of security professionals said yes, we had data in the cloud that was affected by the ransomware attack that we suffered last year. This is very important because I still talk with organizations who know how much they pay for cloud services that they get. They may be getting infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, even software as a service, things like Salesforce or Microsoft 365. And because they know that they pay a lot for it, and they know that generally speaking, the security and the uptime and the resilience of those services are better than what they had when they were running it all themselves on-prem, they can sometimes be lulled into thinking that they don't need to protect that data against ransomware attack. That is absolutely not the case. And I can say that both anecdotally from conversations that I've had with organizations after they were hit by ransomware, but also the data bear this out. Remember, 1,000 organizations, no idea they were talking to Veeam. We have no idea who they were specifically, just information about their verticals, the size of the organization, et cetera. But 51% of security practitioners said, yep, when we got hit by a ransomware attack, it definitely affected cloud resources too. So this is something that you should definitely be aware of when you think about what your organization might be facing in the event of a ransomware attack. So now let's go on to the next question, because believe it or not, I still do have conversations with organizations who say, look, we've got cyber insurance. If we get hit by ransomware, we'll just pay the ransom and we'll get their data back. Unfortunately, that decision to pay the ransom is still one that a lot of organizations are forced to make when they're hit with ransomware. If you notice the data that we got last year, we asked, did your organization pay a ransom to recover data? 52% said, yes, we were forced to pay a ransom and we got our data back. 24% of respondents paid a ransom, but did not recover all their data, right? So if you think about that, you never want to be in the situation where you're forced to pay a ransom. Unfortunately, about 3/4 of respondents, a little more than 3/4 when we asked, did pay a ransom, but 24% of those didn't get their data back when they paid that ransom, right? It's sort of the worst of both worlds. Now, this has sounded kind of gloomy so far, but I do want to focus on the fact that when we speak with organizations about this situation, the news isn't all bad. We had 19% who were able to recover their data without paying a ransom when we asked this last year. I'm going to talk in general terms, and then we might, if we get questions along these lines, get a little bit more specific later on. But I'm going to talk in general terms about some techniques that you can use to make sure that if you are affected by a ransomware attack, you don't have to pay a ransom and basically toss a coin to see if you're going to get your data back, that you can be sure that you've got backups that are fit for purpose and that you can recover when you need to. But we can't end on that bit of good news, because there's another response that we got that you may not have noticed when it was first up on the slide, but I want to highlight that. 5% of the respondents had no ransom asked for when they were attacked by ransomware. And if that sounds far-fetched to you, if that sounds like maybe too high a number, an unlikely scenario, I want you to think back to the spring of 2017 and early summer of 2017. In the winter of 2017 and early spring, there was a rash of ransomware attacks called Petya. That was the ransomware that was being used. It was a genuine ransomware. It was possible to pay Bitcoin to get an unlock code and to unlock your affected IT assets. But then there was a ransomware that looked a lot like Petya, but wasn't, and that was called NotPetya. And NotPetya is actually the most damaging ransomware attack that's ever been seen worldwide. The worldwide damages are estimated at over $10 billion. There were cases between organizations that were affected and their insurance companies that have been in litigation literally until late last year. So 4 or 5 years of court cases going on about whether insurance companies had to pay for damages in this case or not. And the reason that no ransom was asked for, and the reason that this prompted so much litigation, is that NotPetya was actually wiper malware that was released by Russian military intelligence to attack Ukrainian IT assets. And it spread beyond the borders of Ukraine and affected organizations worldwide, large shipping companies, large pharmaceutical companies. It's a huge list of organizations that were affected by NotPetya to the tune of billions of dollars, literally, of damages. The reason that some insurance companies were in litigation with their customers over this is that multiple governments called the NotPetya attack an act of war. And most insurance policies include act of war exclusions, that damages don't have to be paid. That exclusion, by the way, is being formalized quite a bit more than it previously had been in cyber insurance policies to make it explicit. So if you have lately renewed your cyber insurance policy, you might have noticed that it now includes a more explicit act of war exclusion than it might have had before. So this is definitely something that you have to think about. You need a way to get your data back, because you might be affected by malware that doesn't even give you the bad option of paying a ransom if you want to recover. Okay? What that means, of course, is that you need to have a good backup if you want to recover your data. Now, again, we'll start with the bad news. When we asked customers, when we asked organizations, these 1,000 organizations worldwide, did the threat actor attempt to modify or delete your backup repositories as part of the attack? We had 30% who got wiped out. And this probably maps pretty closely, if you look at this, to the folks who actually paid ransoms when we asked about that. 30%, yes, the actor was on our network for long enough to compromise our backups to figure out how to get at them, and they deleted most of them. We had another almost 4 in 10, 38%, who said they didn't get all of our backup data, but they did affect some of our backup repositories. So we were not left unscathed. We lost data that we could have used to recover. Remember on the last set of slides, the last set of stats that we looked at, 76% of people that were surveyed paid a ransom and either lucked out and got their data back, or a third of the time that they paid the ransom, they didn't get their data back. That maps pretty closely to the 68% here who had backup repositories affected by the malware adversary. So if you don't have backups that are safe, and remember, adversaries like to get on the network and stay for weeks or months, spread laterally, escalate privileges, find out how to do the most damage they can, then likely you're going to find that your backups are either entirely or partially deleted, and you're left in a very difficult situation if you're attacked. The news isn't all bad. There were 26% who had backups that were safe. That is, the organization, the adversary tried to delete the backups, but failed. So we can take heart from that. But in only 6% of cases was the ransomware adversary so clumsy that they didn't even try to delete backup data. 94% of the time, right, out of 1,000, that's 940 respondents, when the adversary got on the network and set off a ransomware attack, they attempted to delete backup data with some degree of success. Usually they were pretty successful doing it as part of the ransomware attack. And this maps very closely to research that MITRE has put out when they talk about their attack framework and the steps that adversaries go through when they compromise a network and set off an attack. It maps very closely to some ransomware advice that Gartner put out about protecting backup repositories and what you need to do to be safe against ransomware last year. And obviously, it maps very closely to Veeam's experience. We have a dedicated customer support line and team that works with our Veeam customers that are affected by ransomware every day. And of course, one of the pieces of advice that we're giving our customers all the time is that they need to think about this in advance, because obviously it's too late once you're affected if you haven't done the things you need to. So let's talk about what those lessons learned should be and things that you should be looking for, either from Veeam or from your current backup solution, preferably Veeam, if you want to stay safe from ransomware. Well, the first of those, and this is pretty obvious based on that where was data attacked stat that we looked at before, is you really need to back up everything. It is not sufficient to say, I've got my most critical on-prem database protected, I've got my most critical on-prem application suite protected, and thank heavens we moved the rest of that stuff up to the cloud because we don't have to worry about that anymore. That is absolutely, completely not the case. So you need to be aware that you've got to back up everything. But it's not just enough to back up everything. When you back that data up, you also have to protect those backups, because as we saw, 940 out of 1,000 respondents in Veeam's ransomware survey this past year had their backup repositories attacked. Most of the time, those attacks were successful, either entirely or largely successful, in deleting critical data that that organization could have used if they wanted to restore their data. And the third point is that you need to automate your backup and recovery testing. I mentioned cyber insurance a couple of minutes ago. If you are part of the IT team or part of the finance team in your organization that works with your cyber insurance company, you probably are aware that most cyber insurers have gotten very much more prescriptive in the last couple of years about the controls that they expect your organization to have in place if you want to renew or to get for the first time a cyber insurance policy to protect against ransomware. Those controls typically include a lot of things, but they basically are going to always include three things. One of those is point number 2 above. You've got to protect your backups, and we'll talk more about that in just a minute. So you've got to have some kind of protected backups. You need to have some kind of tested incident response plan. And the third point, and this goes very well with a lot of the zero trust recommendations that I'm sure you've been hearing and reading in the media for some time now, you need to have good authentication, multi-factor authentication for the assets in your environment. Cyber insurance companies typically find that if an organization has secure backups, they have multi-factor authentication, and they have tested incident response plans, premiums paid out or claims paid out can go down as much as 85% in those cases. So these are the kind of things that you're going to be finding your insurance company is going to be asking you for. Now, if you're not familiar with Veeam, we began life as a data protection company for virtual machines, but we've expanded very far beyond that. And the Veeam technology stack now rests really on 3 capabilities that we offer that are all driven by our native APIs across a wide range of workloads. And those capabilities are secure backup and fast recovery, monitoring and analytics so that you can be alerted ahead of time if you start running into trouble with your backup environment, or if you start running into trouble with a ransomware attack, and orchestration of recovery, again, so that you can automate the things that you need to do around getting your backups up and running and being able to actually recover quickly in the event you're attacked. The workloads that we support include not just virtual workloads on-prem, but also physical, most enterprise apps, software as a service, including the extremely popular Microsoft 365 and Salesforce, and native backups for all of the major cloud hypervisors, AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud, and the best tool that's out there, according to most industry analysts, for backing up Kubernetes workloads, either on-prem or in the cloud. So remember that first rule, back up everything. Veeam is a very, very good tool for doing it. And we offer a lot of capabilities specifically around making that backup fit for purpose to defend against ransomware attacks. So when we talk about that, obviously, we give you a lot of control over where you recover. We're not prescriptive about you having to recover using an appliance back on-prem. Cloud native or recoveries from on-prem data centers to the cloud are something that we've supported and that we automate for years. We offer multi-layered immutability to protect that backup data from an adversary, even if they've got admin credentials. Data mobility is something that I mentioned just now, the ability to back up data on-prem and restore to the cloud or vice versa. I know our focus today has mostly been ransomware, but I talk with a lot of organizations, in particular in regulated industries or in public sector. So if you're in pharma, if you're in financial services, if you're in any kind of healthcare, or if you're in public sector, you very likely have requirements that might mean you need to keep data for the long term, even if it's on-prem, back it up to the cloud to keep long-term, or vice versa, keep it on-prem or back up cross-cloud. We have a lot of monitoring capabilities, not just for backups, but for your production workloads. And we include automation driven by APIs for all of that. So quick look at Veeam's capabilities and some of the recent research. Jess, we might have some questions that have come in about that, so I'll flip it over to you and let me know if we have any audience questions.
Yeah, absolutely we do, Jeff. Thank you so much for that awesome presentation. I really love taking a dive into some of the data and especially love that so many people are willing to have these types of conversations now. I know for a long time we were kind of doing a lot of them behind closed doors and with a lot of walls up. So it's nice that we can now have these open and honest conversations about ransomware, which of course helps all of us. And I do have a couple of questions I want to get to. There's a lot in the questions box, so we're not going to get to them all, but we'll knock off a few. I'm going to start with this one actually, because I think it's one that probably a lot of people are wondering about and maybe are a little scared to ask sometimes. Could you talk to us a little bit more about what immutability actually is, and maybe potentially give us a little insight into what the options would be with Veeam?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I've mentioned immutability without getting into detail. Immutable is just a fancy word for unchangeable. There are multiple public cloud services. AWS has it, Azure has it, Seagate Live Cloud, Wasabi, and others that have the ability to save your data in such a way that even your own administrators can't delete it. So even if your own administrator logs in, tries to delete that data, they can't delete it until the period that you specify in advance has elapsed. That was actually a capability that was come up with for compliance reasons, to make sure that if an organization said, for example, to the SEC, hey, here's our financial data, and we promise we're not going to go back later and cook the books. If you want to look at this 2 years from now, it's going to be exactly the same because it's immutable. Turns out that is a perfect solution for protecting you against ransomware. Back to zero trust. If you design your backup solution, assuming the bad guy is already on your network and has already compromised admin credentials, and you ask yourself, what do I have to do to be safe even then? Immutability is the answer to that, right? Now, cloud-based services are not the only option. There's on-prem object storage that offers the same thing. Veeam has a very low-cost solution called our hardened Linux repository that uses commodity hardware and storage on-prem that can be an immutable repository that can't be affected even by an adversary with admin credentials on the network. So there's a lot of options, but the key thing is you can't just rely on a really good password for your administrator or something like that, right? You need to make sure that you've got a solution in place that even if everyone in your organization, every admin decides to delete the data, they actually can't do it. So great question.
Yeah, I love that. And I think actually that might tie really nicely into what, unfortunately, I think will have to be our last question before we wrap it up today. We have an audience member here wondering, what common issues do organizations not think about before they're hit with ransomware? So what's the stuff you don't know that could potentially be hurting you?
So this is something I hear repeatedly from organizations. If you're hit by ransomware, there's a high likelihood that your data center, where you were hoping to restore all your data from your immutable backups, is now going to be a crime scene with state or federal investigators going through doing digital forensics on your storage and on your servers and on all the infrastructure, which means that you can't recover to that infrastructure. So you need the ability to recover somewhere else. That's one of the huge capabilities to look for in a solution, the ability to restore data elsewhere than where you were running it in production. It's something that Veeam offers, and it's something you really need because there's a chance that there will be virtual police tape around your data center when you actually need to recover, and you've got to send that data somewhere else. Now, Jess, I know we're about at time, but I want to leave folks, and this will be in the presentation that you can get later on, with a little bit more information. The research that I cited today is only a little bit of Veeam's strategic research. We do multiple surveys per year, all anonymous by independent companies. So please check out some of the other research we have. And if you're interested in what we've talked about today, Veeam's VeeamON Data Protection Conference is coming up in May. It will be in Miami, Florida, and you can get an early bird discount potentially for when you sign up, but this QR code will give you information about how to register. So thanks very much, everyone, for your time. And Jess, thanks for the great questions. Really had a great time sharing this information with the audience today.
Oh, Jeff, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you. Thank you so much for being here, answering some questions, and giving folks an idea for where they can get started. Just before I do let you take off, though, is there anything else that you would suggest in terms of folks reaching out, following up with Veeam, any other ways that you'd like them to get in touch?
We have tens of thousands of active partners. So reach out to your local VAR or to your local service provider if you're interested in backup as a service, because we've got over 10,000 active backup as a service organizations out there that can help with this. Or reach out to your local Veeam sales team and they can help you out directly.
I love that. Okay. Well, thank you again so much. And it's been a great time chatting with you. I know the audience has really enjoyed it. We have a lot of questions that we didn't get to, so we're going to make sure that those get over to the Veeam team. If you have some time to stick around on live chat, that'd be amazing. And it's been a lot of fun. Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks so much, Jess.
All right, and you can see that poll is up on the screen for you here. What we're looking for is what additional information you would like to get about the Veeam solutions. Obviously, we just got a lot of great info from Jeff. There is lots more to cover, so click on that poll right now if you would like to get some follow-up. I'm also going to suggest that you head on over to the Veeam link in the Handouts tab. You can actually watch the on-demand version of Veeam Backup and Replication V12 launch event. Really cool, fun event, lots of great info, and just a cool watch. So if you're looking for to do a movie marathon today, you want to start the day with a MegaCast and end with an on-demand webinar, why the heck not? Head on over to that Handouts tab, click on the Veeam link, and open that window to save for later. Now, while you're clicking on that link and filling out the poll, I'm just laughing. Laura here says that's local VAR, not local bar. That's an important difference. Yes. Although both good. So whether you're heading for VAR or bar today, let's jump into a prize giveaway. I like that, Laura. I'm going to remind you again that you do need to be here present with me at the MegaCast today. We're going to give away 2 prizes. We're going to do a $500 Amazon gift card, and then we will do a Microsoft Surface Laptop 5. All right, so starting out with a $500 Amazon gift card, that's going to Brian Goffran of Illinois. Brian Goffran of Illinois. And then our next winner of a Microsoft Surface Laptop 5 is Jeremy Lund of North Dakota. Jeremy Lund of North Dakota. So congratulations to Brian on your gift card and Jeremy on your shiny new laptop. Now, as always, we will get in touch with you both about claiming your prize after we wrap. And I want to remind you all that there are lots more chances to win, plus that the best prize question. Oh, Lordy. The best question prize that we will be giving away after we wrap. Again, we're looking at all the questions asked in every session, so keep those questions coming. I'm seeing lots coming in, and I love that. But we're going to keep things moving right along right now because we have another exciting presentation in the wings. It is my absolute pleasure to introduce you all to our next expert presenter. That's Zach Bringman, Senior Product Marketing Manager at Metallic, a Commvault venture. Zach, thank you so much for being here with us. I am always excited to hear from you and from the Metallic crew, so the platform is all yours. Take it away.
Hi all, it's a pleasure to be here on today's webinar. My name is Zach Brigman, Senior Product Marketing Manager here at Commvault. Specifically work in the Metallic SaaS division. Metallic is Commvault's line of SaaS delivered data protection. Here to talk about a really important topic as it evolves around how we're thinking about data protection and what detection and early warning presents in terms of new capabilities to get ahead of cyber threats. So as we take a look here, what we're really finding is that the current landscape is shifting. The lines between data protection and data security really are blurring. You have new cyber threats surging, new imperatives around how to protect your data from these threats also emerging amidst this growing challenge and this background of shrinking IT resources, whether that be from a budgetary standpoint or a manpower standpoint. And this is challenging IT organizations in new ways. It's evident by how folks are really thinking about data protection. Now, data recoverability, what you see on that right-hand side, that 72%, it's always been a chief concern. What we're finding, though, is there's a little bit of a shift here in mindsets as the overwhelming majority of IT professionals are really focused on preventing data damage and avoiding data loss in addition to recoverability, right? So to put this differently, it's not just about getting my data back. It's also about ensuring that there's no impact along the way. And what this brings us to is the methodology, right? And the tools that we use to help achieve and deliver against this need of preventing damage and preventing loss, right? And the gap that exists that almost 9 in every 10 or more than 9 in every 10 IT leader acknowledges and saying that, hey, we don't have the adequate tool sets to be able to properly detect threats. And that's uniformly across all my environments, SaaS, on-prem, cloud. When it comes to cyber threats, right, one weak link in the chain, no matter what environment that is, poses a potential risk here. So as I mentioned risk, right, it's important to pay mind to how ransomware and malware is really targeting data today, and it's in unique ways. A few short years ago, if we roll back the clock, right, data encryption was the end game. As an attacker, I focus on getting in, encrypting data, denying you access to your data, and that would mean that a business would be forced to comply and pay a ransom, right? As more companies lean into proven backup solutions like what Commvault and others offer, right, to help protect their data, businesses have been afforded this requisite tool set to be able to recover encrypted data sets, to get their business back online. And that allowed them to avoid costly ransomware demands if I went ahead and made sure that my business was insulated with a backup solution. So understanding this, right, bad actors are very clever. They evolve their approach and they've begun targeting organization data in different ways. So yes, they still encrypt your data, but that's only part of the equation. The majority of ransomware attacks today involve some form of leakage, some form of exfiltration. If they can get to or destroy your backups or your backup infrastructure, they will along the way. So to put it differently, right, bad actors are looking to damage your business by exploiting data in new ways. So while recoverability is definitely irreplaceable, it needs to be in place from a business continuity and disaster recovery standpoint. When it comes to detecting ransomware threats, organizations need new tools to be able to spot and minimize these threats before they reach their data so they don't have some of these double, triple extortion scenarios that they're grappled with, right? So it's important to think about how we've traditionally been conditioned to think about data protection. So conventional backup and recovery on that far right-hand side, it's often been referred to as your last line of defense, right? Security tools on the far left side are at the perimeter. They help ensure that your environment can't be breached. And data protection is in place should you have a worst case scenario to be able to recover. But what you'll find is with this mindset, there's a blind spot that's been created, and it neglects a really critical element in the data protection lifecycle, which is the ability to respond actively to threats before it's time to recover. So what exactly goes on in this window? This is where bad actors get access. They discover aspects of your network. They move laterally. They propagate their attack. This can happen very quickly and often undetected, right? We know about zero-day attacks. We know about silent breaches. If you don't have visibility into this window, it could be challenging. These are key moments in a cyber event. So when we think about this a different way, it could be the difference between a small minor impact or a major catastrophe, something between a brush fire or potentially reacting to a wildfire. It's a very critical element in terms of how attacks are propagated and crucial action points for an organization. So if you're thinking about data protection solely as your last line of defense and solely reliant on security tooling, you may be missing this critical element in the data protection lifecycle. So covering this blind spot really requires the capabilities that help surface these silent threats before impact, making early warning that really critical element in the era of modern data protection. So thinking about this challenge, Commvault really introduced Metallic ThreatWise in the fall of 2022 with the primary focus of delivering early warning capabilities to help proactively surface internal and external threats before leakage, before exfiltration, before damage. And it really focuses around using patented cyber deception for robust and sophisticated detection alongside these comprehensive tools for recoverability, helping businesses uncover latent zero-day silent threats that bypass security controls, containing and limiting windows of exposure, and really helping to surface that ransomware activity, whether that be from an external party or potentially a malicious insider, as soon as possible to minimize risk and help kickstart and respond faster, right? And it's all built around this lightweight cloud architecture, and it's really angled around deploying decoys that mimic and behave like real resources, but are indistinguishable to bad actors. So consuming their time, their energy, while simultaneously alerting the business as bad actors are drawn to and away from real assets and data. And this all happens in production environments. So not only can businesses see these threats during that critical point in attack, but it's also happening in a time where it's prior to recovery, right? To help minimize that risk and help mitigate damage. So we compare this to what conventional honeypot technology is. It's quite different. So honeypots are really designed around gathering intelligence to learn from an attack, right? They're typically heavy in nature. They take time to consume, to stand up, and that's resources to set it up, to manage it, to administer it. And they're somewhat static, right? When it comes to scaling, they're really a specific system that cannot emulate other assets, but they're designed to gather intelligence around the attacker's techniques and tactics. Modern deception, on the other hand, is really designed for a different area. It's designed to engage and alert business into attack. So not only are they learning, but it's really meant for a different purpose. So flexibility, scale, the ability to mimic a wide variety of assets to trap a bad actor is a key calling card of modern deception. So how exactly does it work? How does ThreatWise work? I mentioned we leverage patented deception technology. And what ThreatWise really does is it blankets customer environments with a series of tripwires. And these tripwires are decoys, again, that look like and behave like real assets. So without deception, right, 100% of the assets in my environment are real. So for a bad actor, every resource they touch in their journey to get your data is a real resource. With ThreatWise, what Commvault and Metallic does is drop threat sensors or decoys around your valuable assets. And these threat sensors act as indistinguishable to attackers. So they mimic real resources and they surround your assets, starting with the backup infrastructure. Then the assets in production that your backup environment is protecting, and then the resources in the perimeter if you so choose, right? And these decoys are highly configurable and adaptive. They can mimic things like your backup infrastructure itself, servers, IoT devices, workstations, backup environments. We can even fingerprint any asset with an IP address and create a custom sensor that mirrors something specific to you. So these are highly specialized assets. Think of if I have specific medical devices and I'm in the healthcare space, or maybe I'm in the manufacturing industry and I have a forklift or something on the manufacturing floor. So being able to also mirror highly specialized assets specific to my organization. And then when any one of these decoys or sensors are engaged with by an external or internal bad actor, ThreatWise sends these high fidelity warning signals to key business stakeholders directly into security tools and directly within Metallic as well, the moment that these events happen. So the real key here is that because ThreatWise is really only visible to bad actors, these signals are very precise without false positives and capable of surfacing recon and lateral movement and unwanted privilege access before they reach data, but provides these really accurate indicators without any noise for investigation. In terms of delivery, it's delivered as a service within Commvault's Metallic portfolio. Just looking at the portfolio here, we protect a wide range of hybrid cloud workloads. This includes VMs, containers, structured, unstructured data. You can see from the list here, we cover a ton of workloads. We have some really unique support for environments like OCI and Azure PaaS databases. We offer secure cloud storage as a target for these hybrid cloud environments, as well as archiving capabilities for unstructured data. We offer cloud-to-cloud protection of critical SaaS apps. That's Office 365, Dynamics 365, Salesforce, as well as endpoint protection for laptops and desktops with storage included for these workloads. In the security realm, we are talking about ThreatWise here today, but we include Security IQ, or Security Insights Engine, in all of our Metallic subscriptions. And this offers built-in insights and tools to identify critical security posture elements, how you can improve that security posture, spot malicious files and activities and data sets, suggest pre-infected ransomware recovery points for compromised files, and a little bit more in there. And we also offer free Azure directory Azure Active Directory and Microsoft Active Directory backup included with every purchase with Metallic. And it's all built on our zero trust, really robust architecture. Metallic is notably the only SaaS data protection vendor in the space to achieve FedRAMP high status. And that means that we meet all 421 security controls mandated by the US government. And that makes us capable of meeting the most stringent security standards for protecting and handling federal data. And you can see here across the board, whether it's foundational level with our DevSec approach to development, what we do in the authentication, authorization, access protocol realm, air gapping and immutability, detection capabilities throughout. Metallic really focuses on delivering a robust and durable solution with best-in-class security standards that help prevent tampering and compromise while ensuring data and utilities are available for proven recoverability. And this approach truly is unique in our industry. It's really end-to-end data protection across production and backup for that full spectrum coverage. So what we spoke about today, that early warning category, it's all about flagging threats before they reach your backup environment to alert business into ransomware, internal attacks, malicious insiders before it's too late. And this enables the proactive response sooner to prevent data damage as close to the perimeter as possible. That actionable threat insight for telemetry as data approaches backup environments, giving deep visibility into data sets and suspicious behaviors. It empowers businesses to have better visibility into their backup environment and data, which may be potentially infected or impact recoverability. And then that proven recovery bucket on the far right to deliver unrivaled business continuity and disaster recovery, so that no matter what the environment you're looking to protect, today or tomorrow, you have a single solution and interface to reliably restore that data for SLA compliance. So with that being said, I just want to thank everyone for the time here today. We can open it up for Q&A. If you have any desire to go and check out our product, you can see the free trials available. But again, thank you for the time, and happy to answer any questions.
All right. Well, we definitely have a lot of great questions coming in. Before we jump into those, though, I just want to call everyone's attention up onto the screen here. Please do take a moment now and click on the poll. Let us know what additional information you would like to get about the Metallic solution. So take a quick second now, click on that poll. Your future self will thank you for clicking on that now. Zach, you ready to jump into some questions here?
Yes. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. That presentation is just a lot of fun. I know we've gotten to chat with you in the past, and I always find it's really interesting to kind of dig into a little bit of the why around some of these things and a little bit of the storytelling. And then I have to say, Metallic, you guys do a great job of giving us a lot of the reasoning behind some of these solutions. So I appreciate that. And we've got some great questions, so I'm going to jump in. Wondering. I'm going to start with this one here. Oh, interesting. Okay, sorry. I got two questions in at the same time, and they were similar, so I was choosing between them. I'm going to go with this one here from Con. How does Metallic address the key moments in a cyber incident? So looking at lateral movement and exfiltration.
Yep. That's a great question, and too many good questions to all tackle at once, right? So the way that we look at it really is from a standpoint of trying to provide early warning around that moment in time when a silent breach happens, right? And we know there are critical elements around how an attack's propagated. A bad actor gets in, and this could be internal or external, right? They move laterally, right? After they've discovered things, they run reconnaissance, right? There's a series of things that are happening to propagate an attack. And essentially what this technology does is it sets tripwires across the data estate in key areas that helps surface some of this activity as these bad actors are looking to find legitimate resources, discover networks, move laterally. So we don't really focus on how the bad actor gets in. We focus on the moment that that breach happens up until impact. How do we trip a bad actor? How do we deceive a bad actor to give you fidelity into where they are and how to respond in order for you to kickstart your remediation efforts?
Following up on that, also from Con here, who's getting a gold star for all these questions coming in. High five, Con. Wondering if there's any specific limitations that he should be aware of, especially when thinking about migration or anything like that. I see. He's saying any specific limitations that we would want to be clearly aware of before implementation and migration. Boy, I got to have another cup of coffee, I tell you.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. No, there isn't. So a beauty of this technology is that it's very different from what you'd consider to be conventional honeypots, where I'm spinning up full systems, and when it's kind of a more labor-intensive process, right? When folks think about deception, honeypots have a great place in that landscape, but it's more of a traditional sense, right? The way that ThreatWise works is it's web service-like. We use a virtual appliance essentially to deploy hundreds or thousands of specific sensors across a customer environment. So very lightweight, passive technology. It's not very noisy. Everything's tied to IP addresses. So it's very very quiet, highly scalable, and that's kind of a beauty of the solution. A lot of folks are attracted to ThreatWise because of that scalability and lightweight nature, as opposed to spinning up a honeypot, which takes resources and time and effort to manage, right? So much different in terms of the deployment model, and really a very low barrier to entry and time to value for customers looking to deploy the technology.
I appreciate that. Okay. I have a bit of a big question that Andrew here asked for all vendors. I'm going to throw it at you, Zach. So I'm going to ask you to answer a very big philosophical or ideological question here, because I'm curious about this. So Andrew's wondering, given, and what he says is given the absolutely catastrophic potential for companies that are not taking an active posture towards protection with these promised threats. And he's pointing out that obviously there are people who are not taking those steps. So do you have any thoughts on why companies are continuing to ignore the threat? And I'm wondering, in terms of if we can pull this around to Metallic, if there's an argument that you would want to give everyone out there, if their organization is pushing back on pursuing one of these solutions, what you would suggest that they bring forward?
No, it's a fantastic question, and one that we hear very often, especially that last part, how to bring this inside the walls of your organization and make it real. The one thing that I would say is a lot of times the reasons are simple why someone may overlook or potentially bypass some functionality or tool or specific posture around ransomware readiness or recovery or what you're doing in the cyber realm. It could come down to budget and resources. It could come down to whose ownership it is, right? Something like data protection is rapidly evolving. It has inroads into IT and security, right? Whose responsibility is it for folks to really focus on data protection in that realm, right? And if there's not a clear agreement, there may be a blind spot. A lot of folks invest in solutions, right, and they don't fully implement, or they put it on the shelf and, unfortunately it gets cut because it hasn't been properly used. So there's a myriad of reasons of why folks may be potentially overlooking or moving away from it, all the way down to, it's hard to believe, right? But some folks saying, hey, we're immune to this, or this doesn't really fall under my purview. So there's a ton of reasons why folks may consider or not consider protection in this realm. The biggest thing that you can do as someone looking to potentially increase awareness of data protection and cyber recovery and the need for it, cyber recovery can't happen without data recovery, we know that. But is really partnering with stakeholders to articulate risk to your business, right? It's not about just buying a solution to protect your data. It's what it means for business continuity, what it means for disaster recovery, what it means to help mitigate threats that may be, internal or external. So your best friend in really capturing mind share within your own organization is to partner with your stakeholders and really focus on articulating that risk at a business level, right? It's not about systems and applications. It's what it means for your bottom line and your ability to run your business. And that is where we've seen customers be very successful in really focusing on the threats that persist and making sound decisions in technology that they invest in.
I like that. One of the, I think what's kind of jumping out with me or for me right at the end there was the difference between checking a box and really having a strategic approach and a holistic approach. And so like not just getting the solution checked on that, but making sure it is the right, option for you and that you've connected it into your infrastructure properly. And I think that is an important step. So that's you've given everyone some great discussion points there. I do wish we could keep going. Unfortunately, we are getting pretty close to the end of time here, so I think we're going to have to wrap it up. But before you leave us, Zach, if somebody out there is ready to jump in with Metallic, they want to get started, what do you recommend as their first step?
Yep, you could go to our webpage. We have trials available. If you want to chat with someone, happy to do that as well. But metallic.io is the best place to go for resources. Got on-demand webinars and content up there, but also the ability to connect or trial directly from that page.
I'm throwing a sneaky bonus question in here for you because you've been so great at answering my larger philosophical questions so far. If there was one thing that you wanted everyone to take away from this presentation, one thing you want them to understand about Metallic or sort of any of the higher level things we've talked about, what would that be?
Yeah, I think just the mind shift, right? Don't put ourselves in boxes as IT admins or backup admins, right? There's really a need, given the threat landscape, to be proactive and not necessarily wait for others within the organization to provide solves, right? We need to be able to control the functions that we're responsible for, and that starts with having a proactive mindset, not necessarily just waiting for us to be reactionary. So that's kind of the theme to get ahead with cyber threats. No matter what it is, let's try to be proactive and think in the future. So.
I love that, man. Zach, I could talk to you all afternoon, but we will leave it there for now. Thank you so much for being here to chat with us today.
All right. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, and I do want to remind everyone that if you haven't taken a moment to click on the poll up on your screen, please do that now. Let Metallic know what additional information you would like to get about their solution. Again, lots of great information here, lots more to dig into. So please do take a minute right now and click on one of those options. I'm also going to suggest, if you haven't already done it, to check on the handouts tab again. Click on that Metallic link. You can actually get a solution brief on modern cyber deception. You get to explore everything that we just heard about in terms of threat-wise and get into a little bit more detail. It is definitely worth the read, so go download that and save that to read after we wrap the MegaCast today. I promise you'll be happy that you have that, so do go check out that handout. Now, some of you out there might be thinking to yourself and checking your watches and saying, hey, Jess, you said you'd give away an Amazon gift card every 30 minutes, and we're right up at that. So it is time for another prize giveaway, you smart humans out there. All right, so we're going to do a $500 Amazon gift card. I completely forgot the amount there. I think it's about time for another cup of coffee, folks, so I'm going to go do that after this next presentation. But we are going to give away another $500 Amazon gift card. We're also going to give away another one of our Microsoft Surface Laptop 5s. Awesome prize. Okay, so, and I feel like you're all saying this along with me here. You do need to be live present at the MegaCast in order to win. Our next winner of an Amazon gift card is Ian Phillips of Washington. Congratulations to Ian Phillips of Washington. You have won a $500 Amazon gift card. And our next winner of a Microsoft Surface Laptop 5 is Joe Olinger of Wisconsin. Joe Olinger of Wisconsin, congratulations on your awesome new laptop. As always, we will be in touch with you, Ian and Joe, about claiming your prize after we wrap today. Now, don't forget, there are still more chances to win one of those gift cards and a laptop, plus the best question gift card from each session. So lots of prizes still to come. So do not despair if you haven't won yet. There is still time to come. But up next on the MegaCast, we are going to be chatting with a team that I think most of you already know and love, and that is Rubrik. I am so excited to introduce you all to our next two expert presenters. We will be chatting with Christina Avernova, Principal Product Marketing Manager at Rubrik, and Tony Zhao, Senior Product Manager at Rubrik. Christina and Tony, thank you so much for joining us here at the MegaCast today. I know that you have a lot of great info to explore with all of us. So Christina, I think I will hand the mic right on over to you. Take it away.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming to our session, Tame Your Unstructured Data. My name is Christina Avrionova, and I'm on the product marketing team. Well, this graph should be a surprise to no one. It is hard to find an organization that is not following these trends. And we know that the growth will continue, and you will continue to amass billions to trillions of files comprising of petabytes to exabytes of data. Unstructured data is growing 62% per year faster than structured data, and analysts predict that by 2025, it will be 80% of total data. So how do you manage this today, and how will you manage it in the future? Let me ask you, how many copies of your NAS data do you have now? And how do you manage that? It's painful and inefficient, isn't it? Because snapping and replicating to a second physical NAS cluster results in more data management headaches and larger on-prem footprint, right? And if you archive to tape, you have no visibility into your data and it's difficult to recover it, right? And you cannot because nobody is going to see you, but do you really back up all your NAS data? When it comes to protecting unstructured data, we hear from our customers that they have several NAS vendors and multiple copies to manage, so things are getting quite complex. Backups are very slow. It can take hours and you can back up only during the backup windows. So otherwise, you're not impacting the users and application that need to access the data. To keep with the data growth, you keep on adding hardware, which just makes things more complex. The problem just gets bigger. And lastly, this complex environment does not work well or leverages the cloud much, if at all. As you can imagine, at Rubrik, we have a better way. NAS Cloud Direct is a modern backup and archive NAS solution that is designed for simplicity at scale. First, it is a SaaS solution. It is deployed as a virtual machine, so there is no hardware to manage. NAS Cloud Direct provides integration with any NAS storage and native support for all file access protocols. Moreover, we include API integration with Isilon, NetApp Fast, FlashBlade, and Cumulo, so you can just plug and play. Archive is direct to any cloud target, be it AWS, Azure, GCP, so no more vendor lock-ins, and you can archive directly to the economical storage tiers. Or if you choose, you can archive to a private cloud, or mix and match as you need. And lastly, you get to enjoy as-a-service monitoring and management. Our remote management platform handles all the monitoring, diagnostics, failure management, and software updates, so we can take care of the logistics and you can take care of your business. With NAS Cloud Direct, you get the simplicity, scalability, and the high performance at a petabyte scale. Simplify and automate protection with SLA-driven policy engine, no more manual job scheduling, no more multiple copies of your NAS data, no more management inefficiencies. The global visibility with powerful search and analysis will allow you to discover and index billions of file system objects and object changes per day. Identify the code data, search for files, for folders, users, or groups, and take the action that you need, be it archive, protect, migrate, or retire. Rapid data mobility will give you the so much needed storage freedom. Want to archive a set of files to Amazon Deep Glacier and another one to Azure Archive? You know you can do that. We already talked about it. Lastly, you get to enjoy fast and no-friction data recovery process. You need to find that copy of a file that had to be delivered yesterday? No problem. Quickly search with granularity down to the file level and restore to any NAS, server, or PC so long as it was via the same protocol as it was backed up. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Tony so he can take you into a deeper dive on how the product works.
Thanks, Christina. So how does it all work? How is Cloud Direct capable of supporting NFS or SMB on whichever NAS platform you choose to move data to any cloud? whether it's private or public, warm tier or archive tier. This slide may look a bit familiar since Rubrik's NAS Direct Archive also has 3 phases: scan, fetch, and copy. But Cloud Direct works completely differently. While NAS Direct Archive has distinct phases where files are first scanned, then completely fetched, and as a batch copied to the storage destination, Cloud Direct pipelines all operations. So a file that has been scanned will be moved and indexed one after another without waiting for other files to complete a scan, move, or index step. It's all one big process. We're going to explore each Cloud Direct step in more detail, but I did want to highlight some of the proof points for Cloud Direct's capabilities. The scan operation is fast enough to completely walk the file tree of 11 billion files in under 10 hours in a real customer scenario. And this is using the native Cloud Direct NFS and SB clients rather than any specialized change detection API. Cloud Direct was also used to move 3.5 petabytes of data to cloud storage in under 3 weeks at another customer installation. And finally, the indexing capability of Cloud Direct can maintain 100 billion objects indexed, allowing users to quickly search and recover individual files, even while new files and directories are being indexed. Cloud Direct uses its own custom-built clients called NFS Lite and SMB Lite. It connects directly to the NAS system and does not rely on any of the underlying OS to mount the shares. Highly parallel, highly multi-threaded, it can detect which threads finish faster and rebalance work to keep all threads running. Well, one concern you may have is, how does this affect my NAS? Is it going to overload it and cause performance degradation for other users and applications? You won't have to worry about this, since Cloud Direct is also smart enough to throttle back its own performance when it detects this situation. How does it detect this? While it is scanning the system, it is also monitoring the latency of the operations. When it detects a latency exceeding a dynamically set threshold, it will scale back the number of threads scanning the system to reduce the load on the NAS. And when it detects the latency dropping back to an acceptable level, it will automatically start increasing the threads to improve performance without exceeding the thresholds. No manual tuning required, no calls to support to dial it in. This all happens automatically under the hood. All these capabilities combined means Cloud Direct has one of the highest performing NAS clients with the capability to easily scan billions of files and directories without being bottlenecked by one component. In fact, most commonly in real-life deployments of Cloud Direct, the bottleneck actually becomes how fast the source NAS system itself can safely serve out data to Cloud Direct. As soon as files are scanned, Cloud Direct is going to start moving them, even as other files are still being scanned. It's still using the NFS Lite and SMB Lite clients to read data, so the same multi-threaded approach is used to automatically scale the performance. But during move operations, Cloud Direct can actually leverage the snapshot APIs built specifically for NAS hosts, such as NetApp, Isilon, Pure Storage, and Cumulo. For these systems, it will initiate a snapshot call to create a point-in-time consistent view of the files. So when Cloud Direct now reads the files from the snapshot, it is not affected by file locks or inconsistent file states. It will read a copy of the files exactly as they are at the point in time the backup was taken. The move process is also built with cloud storage in mind. While individual put costs are fractions of a cent, it does not scale well if each individual file requires a put. In that scenario, moving billions of files individually becomes a costly operation. Instead, individual files are combined into 64 meg chunks, and each chunk is written out to the cloud as a single put operation. Rinse and repeat for the remaining files to be moved. This is a smarter way of moving file data to the cloud, and Cloud Direct's move operation is built with this in mind. So this is great. We're scanning all the files, we're in the process of moving them into the cloud, but we still have billions of files and directories. We still need a way to search and find the files out of the billions we've moved. This is where the index of Cloud Direct comes into play. It indexes every file and stores the metadata in a manner to allow a user to quickly and efficiently locate any single or set of files. Even more, it doesn't require an absurd amount of compute or memory to brute force a search. Cloud Direct actually just uses a VM with modest requirements. 64 gigs of memory, 100 gigs of storage, to perform not just the indexing, but the scan and move steps as well. Even though the VM performs these operations, The index itself is decoupled and stored in a cloud instance controlled by Rubrik. The customer does not need to provision additional storage for this index in the cloud. It's just built into the product and completely managed by Rubrik, just part of the subscription cost of Cloud Direct. This cloud index is built for large scale, high object count, and high performance, just like every other component of Cloud Direct. It supports fast insertion of newly indexed data while retaining the ability to instantly query the index. It can do multi-dimensional queries and return variable results. Now you're wondering, give it to me in English. How does this even benefit me as a user? Well, this index means you can search for specific file names while specifying the size of the file you're searching for, and then filter it by attributes such as file ownership, all at once. And it's all happening while Cloud Direct is actively indexing new files using nothing but a VM. So now we've explored how data protection works with Cloud Direct. We've looked at how NAS data is scanned, moved, and indexed from your source NAS to destinations of your choice. You've seen how all of this is performed at high speed with minimal impact. But that's not all. There's a nifty additional capability in Cloud Direct called Data Discover. What it does is every week on Saturday, we'll take the scan engine of Cloud Direct and scan all the NAS systems added to it. This can be used even if the data is not being protected by Data Discover. What it generates is a report that categorizes the data by last modified time and access age. Now, how's this useful? Well, if you have petabytes of data, you're probably interested in how much of it hasn't been used recently and how much can be moved off to less expensive locations. You want to free up your primary NAS storage for mission-critical data and move the cold data to an archival storage tier. Problem is, with petabytes of data and billions of files, you probably have no idea where or even what those files are. This is where Data Discover's report comes in handy. It gives you a quick way to visualize the data on all of your NAS systems and dig in to find which systems, shares, or directories contain the cold data that's no longer necessary. Better yet, once you've found the files in Data Discover, you can actually tell the tool to create an archival copy of the data and move it to deep archival storage directly. Now, this is not stubbing or symlinking. Data Discover doesn't delete or alter the data when it creates an archival copy. It leaves you in control of what to do with the original data after an archival copy has been created and moved. All in all, Data Discover is a nifty tool for a common problem. You want to find cold data in the vast amounts of NAS you have and move it elsewhere. Data Discover is going to help you find it using our scan engine and create an archival copy using our move engine. So up until now, we've covered in depth how Cloud Direct protects your data, how Data Discover can visualize file usage, but what good is a backup if the recovery process isn't simple and fast to use? The great news is that Cloud Direct offers the same easy-to-use recovery as other Rubrik products. Since the metadata has all been indexed and stored separately from the data, you can search and recover individual files regardless of where the file is actually stored. You can do searches, you can browse the data protected, you can find files based on attributes and select just the files you need rather than recovering the entire backup image. The files and directories can also be recovered to any like destination, NFS data to NFS exports, SMB data to SMB shares. This means there's no vendor lock-in when restoring data, which is ideal for heterogeneous environments where multiple different NAS systems are used. The data can be protected off one NAS and restored to any other NAS system. To cap it all off, here's a high-level overview of Cloud Direct's architecture. On the left are the sources of NAS data: Isilon, NetApp, Pure, Cumulo, or even generic NFS or SMB. These can all be mixed and added to Cloud Direct to be protected. With the vendor specifically listed, Cloud Direct can go further and use APIs for additional capabilities like triggering point-in-time snapshots. At the center is really the only Rubrik presence required on-prem, the VM. This VM uses custom NFS and SMB clients to connect to the NAS sources, scan, move, and index the data. There's no other hardware needed, not even a brick required. The VM itself is even directly scalable. If you have large enough NAS data sets and want to move data faster, you can provision additional VMs to scale up appropriately. Remember, our aim is to remove the bottleneck from Cloud Direct components and allow you to scan, move, and index data as fast as your NAS or network can handle. On the right, you'll see that the scan metadata lives in an index in the cloud, managed by Rubrik. The updates and telemetry goes to Rubrik's Polaris Cloud control plane in the center, giving you a view of all Cloud Direct data, as well as any other Rubrik managed data. From here, you'll control which NAS sources are added, what data is protected, where the data protection copies flow, and when it becomes necessary, which data to recover and where. And finally, on the bottom is where all of your data goes, either to a public cloud such as AWS, Azure, or GCP, or even to a private cloud built on object storage you manage directly. You have the freedom to choose what storage to use, and you can easily split data out to different tiers according to your business needs. All in all, Cloud Direct really opens the door for protecting and managing your NAS systems. The legacy products struggle with performance and ease of management at the petabyte scale of modern NAS environments. The frustration and difficulty in using these legacy products means a significant amount of NAS environments are underprotected or even completely unprotected. Cloud Direct really helps simplify setting up protection. It's subscription-based and only requires a VM to be set up rather than dealing with managing new hardware. It will back up any NAS and recover to any NAS, meaning you get to minimize your NAS storage costs and can prioritize it for mission-critical data. Setting up protection is simple and fast, with Cloud Direct automatically discovering your data and requiring the user just to choose what and where the data should be sent. No need to figure out backup schedules. Our SLA-based approach will match the scheduling to your business requirements. And since Cloud Direct is built for moving data to cloud tiers, it is designed to intelligently leverage cost-effective archives in the cloud. It's smart in how it moves data to the cloud, how it uses index in the cloud, and how it stores and deletes data from the cloud based on the storage tier you're using. Finally, all these capabilities combined means mitigating risk to your business. Cloud Direct manages immutable data protection copies to protect you and your business from threats like ransomware or data loss. So even if something strikes, you can quickly and easily recover the data necessary from Cloud Direct copies to keep your business going. And with that, thank you for listening to our presentation.
Thank you so much to Christina and to Tony for that awesome presentation. I know that we are also joined now by Daniel Chi, a pre- and post-sales engineer at Rubrik. And Christina, I think you're going to stick around as well. So we've got a whole crew and we're going to jump into some audience questions. I see a lot coming in here. Let's start with this one. So with NAS Cloud Direct, you can archive only to the clouds. Dan, do you want to start us out with that one?
NAS Cloud Direct can actually write to an on-prem storage as well. Any S3 compatible object store is a good target for us, as well as any NFS v3 based storage devices.
Yeah, and I just super quickly want to chime in. Yes, don't let the name fool you. Obviously, everything that Dan said, and this is what exactly gives you the storage freedom that you need. Any cloud, whatever works for you, and of course, any on-prem storage bucket. Again, whatever you need, whatever your organizational needs are.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, team. Let's take this question next. What is the biggest mistake that you have seen companies make in managing their unstructured data? And I like this, how have they gotten past it? Dan, do you want to kick us off with that one again?
Yeah, with unstructured data, it's just a lot of data to manage, right? A lot of companies would try to use snapshots and replication because it's built into the storage platform to do their data protection. And it doesn't really give you a lot about visibility into what kind of data you have and what age your data is, right? It's just there, it's simple. However, you start to see a lot of sprawl, buying more storage, more expensive storage, and that just increases your cost to an astronomical number, right?
Well, Christina and Tony, I want to thank you both again for such an interesting presentation. Dan, thank you so much for joining us and helping us answer some of our audience questions today. This has been such a blast. I wish we could keep going, but I think we're going to have to wrap it up. Before I let you both go, if somebody out there wants to learn more about Rubrik or is ready to get started with NAS Cloud Direct, what do they do? What's their first step?
Sure. It's actually pretty straightforward to start off with NAS Cloud Direct. It is a virtual machine. So POCs can be kicked off very easily. Just a quick call to your Rubrik rep, and we will schedule the time to get it installed. It takes usually about 30 minutes to get the VM stood up. It's very straightforward after that. We just configure the policies as I mentioned in the demo. And then you would import a system, one of the supported NAS devices, and apply a policy to it to send data up to the cloud.
All right, perfect. Well, I think we'll have to leave it there for now. But again, this has been so much fun. I know that we have all learned a ton. So thank you all for being here with us today. All right, well, you can all see that I have put up that poll question for you. We would love to get your feedback on any additional resources that you would like to explore from Rubrik. Again, this feedback is so valuable, so please do take a moment to answer that poll. Your future self is going to thank you when you get all this awesome information just handed to you down the line. Now, if you want to learn more right away, another way that you can do that is to click into the Handouts tab and download the white paper from Rubrik, Definitive Guide to Zero Trust Data Security. It's basically an ebook exploring the use of zero trust methods to protect against ransomware and other cyber attacks. It is absolutely jam-packed with helpful info, lots of great ideas, so go and check that out. While you are answering the poll and clicking on that handout, I have some more good news for you all. It is already time for our next grand prize giveaway. Now, a quick reminder that you do need to be here present live at the MegaCast in order to win. And our next winner of a $500 Amazon gift card today is Con Hollis of Michigan. Oh, I love that. Con has been asking tons of great questions all day. That's so exciting. Congratulations to Con Hollis of Michigan. You've won a $500 Amazon gift card. Our next winner of a Microsoft Surface Laptop 5 is Matthew DeVries of Ohio. Matthew DeVries of Ohio. Congratulations on your new laptop. So congrats to both Con and to Matthew. We will follow up with both of you after we wrap. Now, don't forget, there's still another chance to win. Plus, we have that best question gift card from each of our sessions, and we will be looking at that after we wrap today. So stay tuned for that. But here we are, folks. We have already come to our very last presentation of the day. I can't believe we're here already, but don't worry because we are definitely wrapping things up on a high note. Now, up next, we will be chatting with not one, but two awesome experts from Vast Data. I am so excited to introduce you all to the dynamic duo over here. That's George Axberg, Vice President, Data Protection Division at Vast Data, and Mike Zola, Technical Director, Data Protection at Vast Data. George and Mike, thank you both for being here to bring this MegaCast on home in style today. The platform is all yours.
Well, thank you so much. Appreciate the introduction, and thank you so much for staying with us, all the great participants so far today. And actually, the whole day has been somewhat of a segue event for us because Vast Data, it offers a universal data protection target, and we may actually reference in a few places throughout our presentation some of the earlier speakers and those that have already presented throughout the day. So without further ado, let me jump into the slide deck, and I'll first start by letting you know if you do want to learn more throughout the presentation or soon thereafter, we have Vastronauts standing by at that link on that website right there, that if there's an opportunity for you to chat with those individuals, it would go right directly to our inside sellers, and then they could certainly get you any further information that you may need either during and or after the presentation today. So with that, let's start talking about Vast Data Universal Storage. And let's start with basically a little background story of our company. Our company's been in existence for about 7 years, actually selling products for just over 4 years. And our founder, Renan Halleck, when he brought the product to market, he wanted to solve for the complexity and compromise problem of today's data center. Let's face it, when you speak to most major storage manufacturers, they're going to have a product and a model number for a specific need. And with these products, there always is compromise. And the compromise is typically based on price. If you want performance, that comes at a higher price. If you want that cheap and deep archive, it may come at a lower price. And there's also then a different tiers, if you will, of storage in between, depending on the workflow, the workload, the types of data, and the level of service that you're trying to give back to the business. So with that, you end up with, we would call that complexity of tiers. You see it on the left side of this pyramid. With Vast Data, we sell one product, one universal storage tier built on all-flash NVMe technologies, very high performant, but with the TCO and the economics of a cheap and deep file and object archive. So we are hundreds of times more scalable than legacy systems. We have exabyte scale. Some of our largest customers have clusters. We refer to our systems as clusters. They are not arrays. Our clusters, we have customers with 100, 200, approaching 300 petabytes in a single cluster. We use, because we are all flash and the way our systems work, our space, power, and cooling saves are phenomenal. Typically about 90% less power than you'd see in a traditional spinning disk storage array. We also offer data reduction across all data. Because we have one massive universal storage tier, I am able to add deduplication and data reduction, compression, and what we call similarity that Mike is going to go into a little later in the presentation across that entire tier, right? Across that entire portfolio of data types within a single product. And we also have tremendous scale and performance. I'm here to tell you, I'll start by saying we have the fastest backup and, more importantly, recovery system available in the market today, and based on our architecture and design, anything that you'll see in the future. So a little bit about VAST Data. We just finished our year. This slide actually is going to be updated once we make our final financial announcements, but we just finished a phenomenal year with tremendous growth, growing over 3x. Again, this shows us the previous year at 3.8x. Our average selling price for a system is about $1 million because the system is multi-protocol and multi-use case. So we have customers using VAST Data as data protection targets, and also for just a tremendous amount of different use cases and workloads around machine learning and AI, and I'll talk about that in a little bit going further. But I think what's pretty interesting, this stat here about the net revenue retention, and if that's not a testimony that the product just works, extremely efficient, extremely reliable, and customers just fall in love with the technology, is typically our customer that spends $1 with VAST Data, within a year will spend 3 more, right? Looking for those next use cases. It could be some organic growth, of course, but looking for additional use cases and additional ways to leverage the platform. And, you know, and being that VAST is somewhat of a newer company on the landscape, when you think about it, and really selling products about 4 years now, one of the stats that really is exciting for us is this 100% number you see here in the middle of the screen around the Gartner Peer Insights. What that is we have to, with Gartner, have to provide to them lists and lists of customers, dozens and dozens of customers. And for the first time ever in a Peer Insights review, 100% of the respondents would say that they would recommend VAST Data to a peer, and that they would buy VAST Data again. For the first time, 100% of the respondents, and that's really very telling about the power of VAST Data and the use case for it. As much as we are considered a startup company, our numbers really rival very, 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 very many, not just storage companies, not just IT type companies, but all types of innovative companies that have been available on the planet over many years. And we've been cash flow positive really since the end of 2021. So that's good, and a good sign for our customers and our customer base that being cash flow positive gives us the ability to continue to innovate and solve the problems of our customers that they have today and the problems that we see coming down the line over the future. Our valuation back from that last Series B funding, which was over almost 2 years ago, was $3.7 billion. We are multiple numbers higher than that based on results over the last year and a half. So a little bit about the architecture. So Days architecture, disaggregated, shared everything. Unlike a lot of storage systems, storage arrays, which again, we are not an array, we are a cluster, they share nothing. They've got a very rigid architecture where, you know, there's There's, a controller or two tied to a very specific amount of capacity. You get with that very specific amount of performance and obviously a tremendous amount of limitation when it comes to scale. Our architecture is pretty simple. The foundation of our architecture is our D-Box. Comes in a few different flavors of size and scale, and that's where we leverage our QLC ruler type, all flash drives with a thin layer of storage class memory. And this is where we're able to stack this capacity, if you will, and size exactly to the need. You do not buy vast data and grow into it. You buy exactly what you need, and really helps in leveraging and reducing, leveraging our supreme TCO, but also reducing that cost of entry for our client base. And then what's interesting then is we connect that D-Box, if you will, that capacity via our NVMe switches. And that gives us tremendous amount of connectivity and leads to our disaggregated shared architecture that layers on top what we call a C-Box, our compute box. And basically a 4-node container server. It's very tight, very dense, 2U, and that gives us obviously those multi-protocols, paths to entry within the system, and we can then size C-boxes based on the throughput that's necessary and required. We can size the number of D-boxes based on the capacity that's required separately. You could have every system basically starts with a simple architecture of what we would call a 1x1. One C-box and one D-box. And then if I need more capacity, I just add another D-box. If I need performance and connectivity, I add just another C-box. And then obviously those NVMe switches are added as needed as we scale either performance or capacity. Very unique and different architecture that we see in traditional storage arrays. As I like to say, all other systems are basically based on a model number. We don't have model numbers. Everything starts from a simple architecture and then grows and scales from there. We're also multi-protocol. You heard from some of the earlier presenters today and touting the fact that sure, they support S3 and they might also support NFS, SMB, right? We have multi-protocol, so dependent on the use case, dependent on maybe the partner that you're working with that's writing data to the VAST system as a data protection target, we give you many options. And you can actually mix protocols in a single box, which is also pretty interesting. So really the stateless architecture really eliminates any east-west traffic. We can see everything. Also the amount of reliability we get. We have a system that's running now at 6 and 7 nines of resiliency. And the reason why we're able to do that is because of the architecture. And the fact of the matter is, if I have 20 C boxes and 100 D boxes, if I lose 19 C boxes, I can still see all 100 D boxes. So you really have an extremely reliable platform in the architecture, which is VAST Data with our DAYS architecture. And again, as much as we're here talking about data protection today, we support many different use cases. I can tell you when our founders developed VAST Data, they were thinking about the big, let's say, performance and scale issues of the day around high performance computing, machine learning, AI. A byproduct of building a platform for those workloads is the perfect data protection platform, i.e. VAST Data, the Universal Data Protection Storage. Now, if you look in the upper right-hand corner here, coincidentally, you see all of the partners, or the majority of the partners that spoke earlier today, and we have the integration points, the leverage points, and the work's been done in either their labs or our labs, so that we have not just a multi-protocol, multi-use case platform, but also one that you could be confident today will work with a lot of the partners that you mentioned, and some of the partners that maybe were not yet mentioned on today's call. Okay. If I wanted to talk about just backup targets, that would really enter a lot of different types of systems available in the marketplace today. For example, purpose-built backup appliances typically came to the market around the year 2000. Data Domain being probably the most prolific product in the marketplace today, acquired by EMC in 2009. Those are purpose-built backup appliances leveraging spinning disk, identified initially as tape drive and tape cartridge elimination platforms. Today, with all flash, we've actually flipped the script on what a data protection appliance should be. And it really should be around ultra-fast restores. You heard of a lot of our presenters today speak about instant recovery and instant access. You can't get instant recovery and instant access, whether it's due to some sort of natural disaster or a cyber event within your organization. Backups today are about restoring everything, right? 50 terabyte databases, not 500 gig databases, which might have been the case 10 and 15 years ago. This is about restoring everything or having instant access to my most critical data. Vast Data, being an all-flash system, gives you 50 times restore performance of the fastest purpose-built backup appliances today. Let me say that again, 50 times better backup recovery performance than anything you would see in a purpose-built appliance of the day. And also with that, on the right, one of the things that Mike's going to go into in detail in just a moment is our ability to reduce and deduplicate already compressed and deduplicated data. We have extremely granular patented algorithms with our system, referred to as similarity, that gives us the ability to take data from a Veeam or a Rubrik or a Commvault, into our system and reduce that data even further. And then, of course, on the bottom of this slide, you'll see, which is the table stakes of the day, is we also offer immutability and an additional level of support around security that is necessary and required for the day. So before I turn it over to Mike, really what I would want you all to think about is rethinking what you understand for data protection appliances in the past. Rethink what recovery could be. 50 times faster than anything that's available on the market, but also having the ability to have instant recovery and instant access because I'm leveraging an all-flash system. Rethink scalability. Those customers that have multiple systems because of the lack of scale, imagine me giving you one universal deduplication pool and one product that can scale at an exabyte level. Rethink resiliency. I always wonder when I speak to customers around the globe and they talk about their data protection environment, and I say to them, this needs to be the most resilient, reliable platform in that data center because it is the storage of last resort. When you need those recoveries, you need to know that the data will be there. So that needs to be on an extremely resilient and reliable platform. We also want you to rethink security, right? And taking all of the value out of the data movers that you heard earlier in today's presentation, taking all the value from those data movers, but then also potentially adding an additional layer of security within that environment. And then, of course, putting the perfect TCO wrapper around all of these things because I'm giving you the ultra scale out platform at an incredibly efficient design and at a price point that rivals cheap and deep archive storage. And that is really just the massive differentiator of Vast Data for a data protection appliance. So with that, I'm going to take a pause here and hand it over to my friend Mike Zola. He is the director of the Data Protection Division Technology for all of Vast Data. Mike, the story is yours.
Thanks, George. So George talked a lot about speed, right? And I already see a question like how do we connect these things? What kind of speed do we need for these systems? So let's get into that, right? So the first thing you can do is you can take a client, right? Put your backup software on that client, right? And go ahead and run a single stream down through Data Mover. In this case is your media server, your Commvault media server, your Veeam backup system, and so on, right? And you can go ahead and run your backup. Now, you could also have clients that can have direct connections down as well, because backup software allows that, as well as things like RMAN or SQL dumps and other things, right? But when we look at that, that's going to be limited to a single TCP/IP connection, or about 2 gigs a second, which is really about 7 terabytes an hour backup. Now, as you have larger systems, right, and you want to start maximizing larger throughput pipes, things like over 10 gig, things like 40 gigs, 50 gigs, 100 gig network pipes, right, which we support within our system, you have the ability to do what's called N-Connect or multipath. This will allow you the ability to increase the number of those TCP/IP connections to a single node within the VAS cluster, or to multiple nodes within the VAS cluster for scale. This now gets us to that 6 to 11 gigs a second, or 33 terabytes an hour per system, right? Really giving you that economy of scale. You also have the ability, right, to segment workloads, right? Set up a box just for restore, so that you have that ability now to be able to do restores as needed without impacting backup. So imagine everybody today was talking about, well, what about cyber resiliency? And it's not if, it's when, and you're going to have to recover data. Imagine for a minute, right, when you get hit, it's typically not 100% of your estate, but it's a good portion, right? So you look at that, and you're going to have to typically, when you do massive restores, stop backups. Not the case when VAST is your backend behind your backup software. We give you that capability for reliable performance. Some service providers look at us this way as well, or customers with multiple silos within their estate that they're trying to protect, right? They have the ability now to group these C boxes together for quality of service for certain applications. And that's also how things like mixed workload and other things that George talked about come into play in this backup space. Now, let's take another step forward and talk about how we go ahead and continue to reduce data of already deduplicated data, right? First, let's talk about deduplication, right? Simple way deduplication works is you take a 1 meg file and you chunk it up, right? Most backup vendors, like if I'm talking about Veeam or Commvault, it's about 256K, okay, on average size, that they'll chunk those files up and look for duplicate points to reduce, right? To do that, what they do is they take the data, they separate it down into chunks, and then they hash it, right? When they go ahead and they hash this data, they're looking for exact matches. And that's how deduplication works, right? So if you can see here, the first and the third block are exactly the same, and I can go ahead and reduce that and put a pointer in and reduce my data, okay? What we do at VAST is slightly different, right? Once that data comes into us, we also run similarity, okay? Similarity says, hey, let me go ahead and look at the data that's coming in. Let's see what's close, right? And then go ahead and store what's exactly the same, what's close to the same, and the differences, allowing me to continue to reduce my data footprint. Think of this like a hash collision, causing it to happen, then fine-tuning, looking for deeper similarities within those blocks, and then only storing what's unique, right? That gives us the ability to also then still compress, right? So when working with our other vendors, when we look at adaptive chunking, we don't look at the header of the file. We actually scan and we look for unique patterns within the data. And once we find it, that's when we actually go ahead and create our chunk space and continue to move forward, right? Now, when you continue to move through this, right, why is this important? When you look at your backup software and it gets 3 to 1 or 4 to 1 or 8 to 1, depending upon what it's getting deduplication on, right? Layering that similarity on there will give you another 1.6 to 1 reduction on top of your backup software, giving you a total reduction of 4.8 to 1 or 6 or 13, depending upon what you're backing up. Now you have the ability to ask yourself the question, do I have a network limitation between my client and my backup storage, or my media server and my backup storage? And do I want to reduce that? To do that, I want to have this fine granular capabilities for deduplication as I can get, right? Which means I'm going to reduce my chunk size. I'm going to continue to do those with Commvault and so on. Now, if I don't have a network limitation and I want my media servers, my backup servers, and my clients to be able to produce more, push more data while doing backups, I can now increase that chunk size, knowing that VAST will actually still reduce me down to where I need to be at the end of the day, right? Really game-changing technology. I will never tell you to turn off deduplication from your backup software vendor. I will tell you we will make it better, and now we have a choice when we start looking at performance within our estate. Okay? Then a lot of people talked about immutability, right, and how they do things. And I know we did this with Metallic, and I heard the Veeam team on here earlier today too talking about it. And we support all of that, right? The benefit that you have here is they have their policies that they're setting up with immutability for their backup. We have the ability to go under the covers and create an indestructible flag for both the snapshots and the policies that create them. So we can actually snapshot the whole vast cluster or just the part for backup that we need to. And when a customer wants to make a modification or a change, they can come in here with 2 customers calling in with the exact different passwords. They have to then talk to 2 different VAST engineers. They will then validate that everything's good and give a time-bound key so that changes can be made. There's no error, there's no margin here for people coming in and making modifications to the system, even if my backup software was beaten or I had a bad actor within inside of my data protection space. The other thing to think about with talking about VAST is we offer our hardware for 10 years under maintenance contract, right? So it's no longer this 3 years with then extended maintenance and so on, and then rip and replace and continue to move forward, right? You'll also notice here that you see first generation, second generations, and third generations all within the same cluster. And we do this because we're a software-based company. Okay, as you grow or as new things come out and we get denser on the storage platform, you'll be able to take advantage of that, bringing down the total cost of those QLC drives, as well as we get economies of scale and cheaper, deeper compute nodes at the top, the C boxes, you'll have the ability to go ahead and purchase those new boxes within your existing estate and no forklift upgrades, right? So it's extremely important when you start looking at how we do this. There's no more data migration after 5 years, after 3 years to get to a new platform. And we will never come to you and say, oh, hey, new features out, but you can only get it on this piece of hardware, right? Those days are gone. We're a software-based company that's revolutionizing storage, and in this case, data protection. George, I'll pass it back to you to wrap this up, and then we can open it up for questions.
That's awesome. That was great, Mike. Thank you so much. So again, we want you to kind of rethink data protection, right? And do things the VAST way. Our architecture is fundamentally different, right? Unrivaled resiliency and scale. It's an AI-ready infrastructure. Customers, now that they have this one massive cluster of data protection data and maybe even other use cases and workloads, you can actually now leverage that data. You can leverage it for something, and you can actually run AI type algorithms against that data and actually put that to work and use for you. And all flash at disk economics. You know, that's something that when we do get together and have a conversation with you as customers one-on-one and go through those TCO modeling for you, Mike just said it. Where else are you going to buy a platform that you can actually depreciate over 10 years or further? Where else are you going to find a platform that you can mix generations? I mean, these are really game-changing things for data protection, and the longevity and the likelihood of keeping a system beyond 10 years is something that I think is attractive to all customers. Our consumption model is interesting. We've disaggregated hardware from software, right? You actually buy, again, exactly the hardware you need. You don't buy in advance. And then we license our software in 100 terabyte increments. So again, you're basically almost getting a utility model without the complexity of documentation that comes along with some of these utility models available in the marketplace today. And actually, you can consume the software as an as-needed basis and pay for it as an as-needed basis. And again, we just give you this infinite cluster lifecycle, which is fantastic. Our support, I go back to one of those first slides where I mentioned the Gartner peer insights, where people were saying that 100% of the time that they would definitely recommend VAST Data and would buy VAST Data. Again, I think a lot of that comes down to our support. Every customer gets a level 3 level support, and it comes in the form of a VAST Copilot. A Copilot is designated to your account. You basically have this individual on speed dial, and whether you want to communicate via WhatsApp or texting or email or Slack, that's really up to you, the customer. Any modern age ways of communicating, we certainly want to give you the ability, and you will get that white glove level 3 resource at your disposal 24/7. And our engagement model is somewhat unique because our system is different, game-changing, right? And it breaks the mold of all traditional modeling of, 3-4 years, refresh, that, quite frankly, Ponzi scheme that just happens over and over again with traditional storage systems, and having to stack systems because you're out of capacity or lacking performance you need. We go through a really rigorous engagement model, what we call the art of discovery. We'd love to do one of these workshops with you and help you to determine what is the best use case for VAST for your business. Hopefully data protection might be top of mind after today, and then we can certainly work with you and some of the partners that we heard on today's call in doing that. So with that, thank you very much on behalf of myself and Mike Zola of VAST Data, and let's now go to the polling questions.
Yeah. Oh, I like it. You did my click for me. That's excellent. I just get to hang out here. Thank you so much, guys. That was a great presentation. So interesting. I have to say, all the game changing and the fast movement. You've got my blood pressure's up. This is very exciting. It's a great way to wrap up the MegaCast. And we have a lot of great questions coming in, so I want to jump into those. Are you guys ready?
Please.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, all right, ready to rock. We are a bit short on time, so I'm going to have to keep it to just 1 or 2 questions, but I want to make sure we get to at least a few. So this question here from Jeff, what size organization do you target, and what size would your solution not make sense for?
Yeah, that's a great question. Let me take the second question first. It might kind of help with the first. The smallest system you can buy from VAST Data, you would basically say, based on the architecture, is a 1x1, 1 C box, 1 D box. The smallest D box is about 280 usable terabytes of capacity. But keep in mind, as we are a software company, you could buy that small configuration, but you can also license just 100 terabytes at a time. Mike mentioned like cloud service providers, right? Cloud service providers love that model because as they gain customers, right, or as you as a customer put more workloads on the VAST cluster, you just license as an as-needed basis. The maintenance and the support is tied to the software number. So be rest assured, if you bought hundreds of petabytes of capacity, but you always started with 100 terabytes of software, you're fully covered within the system. And then, so if you said to what would be like the size customer, well, I guess I would tell you we typically target those that would require a petabyte of capacity. Again, our smallest system, 100 terabyte software, 200 terabytes usable capacity. But for us as a company, we try to target around a petabyte size customer. And that is typically either done through starting with the smallest system and then through organic growth, adding multiple use cases, grow into that petabyte scale. But we have some government agencies, like I said, that are at 300 petabytes or approaching 300 petabytes. By the way, managed by less than 1 full-time employee because of the ease of use in the platform. So we do cover really the gamut of size and scale, but typically enterprise size customers, and a petabyte would be a good general number. But again, we have customers that have remote locations that buy the smallest one-by-ones.
Love that. Awesome. We're over time, but because we're at the end here, this is the benefit to being the finale. I get to extend a little bit. So if everyone can hang tight another few minutes, I'm going to sneak in another question. This one coming from Justin. Can you perform zero-copy clone operations to perform testing?
So I can take that one, George. So Justin, yes. So in the system, what we do is we give you that capability to do rapid clone, and then we make it writable. So you have the ability to create a clone, make it writable, present it out. That's how people are doing instant operations, or exactly what you're saying, which is QA, test dev, test upgrades, and so on, without consuming more space.
Perfect. Well, that was a quick and easy answer. All right. Well, I wish we could keep going, guys, because honestly, this has just been a lot of fun. And like I said, I'm loving the energy that always comes from the VAST team. Always a pleasure to chat with you both. Before you take off, though, for anyone out there that wants to get started, I mean, you mentioned the co-pilots, and that just sounds incredible. What a great opportunity to have someone kind of walking along with you. But what is the first step? What do you recommend to anyone out there that's thinking, yep, ready to jump in, where do I go?
Yeah, well, listen, I think that's pretty simple. I mean, the best place you could go is obviously to reach out to any of our Vastronauts at the VAST website, and they will put you in touch with your local team, the local individuals that you work with. Also, VAST is also distributed quite a bit across the globe with many channel partners, right? So it could be through a channel partner community, but I think a first step would be, and by the way, I'm George at VAST Data. If you need to reach out to me directly, and I'll make sure I get you in the right place. I would say, though, going to our website, getting one of our Vastronauts, very helpful. It's a great way to communicate with VAST. Chat lines are always open around the clock, and we'll certainly get you either the collateral that you need or put you directly in contact with one of our field sellers or technical advisors and get you the help that you require.
I love that. And to whoever on your team came up with Vastronauts, high five. That makes me laugh every time I hear it. Just love it. Well, guys, thank you so much for being here with us today. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you both. Thanks for answering some audience questions. I hope we get to talk again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and to everyone who took some time to fill out the poll that's up on the screen there for you, you've got an opportunity to let VAST know what additional information you would like to get about the VAST data solution. So again, this is a fantastic way to make sure that you're getting the resources, the follow-ups that you need. Obviously, we covered a lot very quickly, and there's a lot of information in this MegaCast as a whole. You're just not going to retain all of it. So these polls are a great way to make sure that you get those reminders after we wrap. Oh, right, that was that cool thing I learned. That was that game-changing solution. So make sure you click on that poll and you'll get those follow-ups after we wrap. I also want to thank everyone who asked a question. Again, that really brings up the engagement and the whole energy of our days here together. So I really appreciate all of you for participating and chatting with us throughout the day today. Well, again, for those of you looking at your watches, you know that means it is time for another every 30 minutes. We have a $500 Amazon gift card that we're giving away, so it's time for that. And we're going to give away one last Microsoft Surface Laptop 5 as well. So our last winner of a $500 Amazon gift card, if they are here present and live with us at the MegaCast, is Sal Manzo of California. Sal Manzo of California. And our final winner of a Microsoft Surface Laptop 5 is Zach Rickman of Wisconsin. Zach Rickman of Wisconsin. I have to tell you, folks, every time I say Wisconsin, it is so hard not to fall back into my Midwestern roots and give you a good old Wisconsin. But I'm resisting. I'm resisting for all of your eardrums. Congratulations, Zach, on your shiny new laptop. As always, we'll follow up with you both after we wrap up. Now, I do like to give a little bit of a summary of all of our lucky prize winners here today, so let's run through that very quickly. A gift card, Amazon gift card going to Simon Ziobro of New Jersey, an Amazon gift card going to Za Ong of California, a laptop going to Bill Pan of California, gift card going to Brian Goffrin of Illinois, and a laptop going to Jeremy Lund of North Dakota. a gift card going to Ian Phillips of Washington, and a laptop going to Joe Olinger of Wisconsin, your choice. A gift card going to Con Hollis of Michigan, and a laptop going to Matthew DeVries of Ohio. Gift card going to Sal Manzo of California, and a laptop going to Zach Rickman of Wisconsin. Congratulations to all of our lucky winners today. As I said, we will follow up with you once we wrap here. All right. Well, with that, you know what? Before I go, I do want to remind you one last time, if you haven't already done it, to head on over to the handout section. Be sure that you click on that vast data link. It's going to take you to a really helpful resource page. They've got demos, they've got solution briefs, there's a fact sheet overview, really everything that you could need or want as you're kind of following up on our discussion today. So be sure that you open that handouts tab and get that saved. Save that in your browser so that you can check it out after we wrap up the MegaCast, which is coming soon. If you are on the webinar today and you're having a great time, you'd like to have a conversation, you want to hang out in David's dock and have a little keynote chat with David by the ocean, sure. Come and join us for a summit in EcoCast or a MegaCast. We would love to connect and chat about that. So you can reach out to us via email at connect@actualtechmedia.com. Well, with that, here we are already at the end of our day together. And on behalf of the Actual Tech Media team, I want to thank all of our speakers from TierPoint and Zerto, Nasuni, Veeam, Metallic, Commvault Venture, Rubrik, and Vast Data for making this MegaCast possible. But also, I really want to extend a special thank you to all of you for attending, and especially to those of you who asked some really great questions or answered a poll, and, you know, threw some comments out there. I have a lot of fun chatting with you all every time we get to have one of these sessions, and it is really exciting to dig into some of these different approaches as we think about updating or enhancing, maybe replacing or expanding IT infrastructure. There is a lot to talk about here, and it is so much more fun when we get to have these conversations as a group and as a community. I hope that you have enjoyed the conversations today, gotten some new insights, some new ideas that you can take back to your team. Speaking of which, I want to flag, if you don't have anything going on tomorrow morning, or if you do, hey, cancel it, and come back and join us tomorrow. That's Thursday, February 23rd at 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. We're going to be talking about defense in depth, building a robust ransomware prevention and recovery strategy. This is going to be such a cool conversation, some incredible experts. So I hope that I get to see you all there tomorrow, or hey, at a webinar again soon. And until we get to chat again, have an absolutely beautiful end to your day.